Hello, listening people.
Hello.
You're listening to Spit and Polish Presents Unappreciated Masterpieces. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Sliwinski.
And I'm the other, the Bartek.
Hello, the Bartek. How are you?
I'm the good.
You're the good?
Yes.
Is it because we're doing Unappreciated Masterpieces?
Yes, we Spit and Polish are doing Unappreciated Masterpieces.
Yes.
We're presenting it.
We're presenting it because we're Spit and Polish, likingly because we're always spitting, and we both happen to be Polish. Isn't that correct, Bartek?
Yes, and we present things. So
Bartek isn't a Hungarian name, is it? It's a Polish name.
No, I'm very full.
And Ryan, that might be a Hungarian name, I don't know. But we are doing our show Unappreciated Masterpieces, in which we do a feature-length audio commentary track for movies that seemingly don't deserve a commentary. But we say, hey, that's unfair. Every piece of film is art. And doesn't art deserve some love and appreciation and observation and analyzation? Doesn't it?
It does, and if you were to not give art that, what would you be giving it?
Exactly. So is that what's your rating on art, Bartek?
Art? Pretty great.
Pretty great.
Great.
So, Bartek,
My name does have the word art in it.
I don't know what movie we're covering in this episode because
ready.
I'm in the episode. So you have to tell me the title of the movie.
Well, actually, there's a problem, Ryan, and I can't believe I never mentioned this in a previous episode, but I am actually also in the episode.
Oh, shit.
I only just realised that.
So, Bartek, here. Have a scroll that was sent from you from the future.
From Japanese future.
Japanese future?
They
Yeah.
have scrolls. So.
Only Japan has scrolls.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so, Bartek, what does the scroll tell you?
Well, I can't really read it, but I think...
It's in Japanese, that's the problem.
Oh, wait, hold on, I had it upside down.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's actually in the Arabic letters.
Okay, great.
Yes, Arabic. That's the one we use, right, in English?
Arabic?
Was it Arabic? Not Roman?
Arabic? Tell me, Arabian Night. What does it... If you could translate it into Polish, what would the title be?
Specifically Polish? Okay. I think it would be Tommy.
Tommy?
Tommy.
See, the problem is I don't speak Polish. That's
Oh,
the
why'd you
exact
request
problem.
it?
Because I wanted to do the bit where I say I don't speak it, but you do, and then I'm embarrassed, and then you say, don't worry, Ryan, the film is actually Tommy from 1975.
That is a bit we do, yeah. But, Ryan, I just want to
I'm
assure
so embarrassed I don't speak Polish, but I was like, oh.
I just want to assure you that the film that we are doing is Tommy from 1975.
Tommy from 1975, starring The Who.
The Who?
The Who? Not Doctor Who, The Who. And Elton John and, and Tina Turner.
To be fair, when I was looking for IMDb
Oliver Reed.
reviews, a lot of people were saying Who fans, and I'm like...
They're called Whovians, Doctor Who fans, so don't worry.
Oh, okay, that's a good point.
That's why they're called Whovians. But Bartek, we don't do this alone. We have a guest with us.
Yes.
I dragged this guest out of the sewer onto the street. You know,
we don't really have manholes in Melbourne, do we?
We do have sewers, though.
Yeah.
I had to go
like through
there.
the thin, things on the side of the road?
Through the gutter, yeah.
Right.
So I got him through a gutter hole because he was too busy down there trying to find musical instruments, because in Melbourne, you might as well just fucking throw your musical instruments in the fucking sewer, because there's no point, because mimes are what are popular now. Only mimes. But I said, hey, Matt Brown, could you come out and talk about Tommy, because you're music man. Could you?
Is my pleasure.
Could you talk about Tommy with us?
I could talk about Tommy with you.
He could talk about Tommy with us.
Cool.
I'm very excited. Cool cat indeed. Because you guys at home have to have a copy of the film Tommy, because we have a copy of it, and it's an amazing roller coaster ride. This is a film that not only will our audio commentary give you a feast, but the visual aesthetic of the movie will as well, because it is one spicy meatball.
And it kisses.
And it kisses you back. So get a copy, because I'm going to do a countdown. I'm going to say play, and you're going to press play, and hopefully we'll be lined up as we talk about the amazing film Tommy, the movie, by Ken Russell in 1975. So get ready, because I'm going to start this in 3, 2, 1, play. So, Bartek.
Yes.
What is your history with the film Tommy?
The film Tommy, I do not have a history with it.
The film? You don't?
No, not
So
the
the album you must.
The album I don't have a history with.
What about the stage show?
The stage show, now there I do not have a history with it.
he really
The name, though, I do. I met a guy named Tommy once.
Oh, just once?
I mean, the same Tommy a few times.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So you've never heard of this before?
I don't think I have until you mentioned we would do it at some point, no.
I did say I really want to do this. And you said, okay, that's usually the dynamic of our show.
Yeah, you really need someone to, challenge you a bit more.
Let's just point out the movie starts.
Let's not point out.
Okay. The movie doesn't start with the sun setting, and then it doesn't end with the sun also rising.
I'm not good at this challenging thing.
Yeah. So you haven't really had a history with this before. What about The Who in general, the band?
They're a band that I've been aware of, but I think the only song that I could name off the top of my head is Talking About My Generation. That's only because, and this has happened a few times, Ryan.
It's because there's a TV show named that, wasn't there?
No. It's because at the beginning of the movie Euro Trip, there's a French-Canadian cover of that song.
Bartek, for just reference point, will mention three things constantly. Euro Trip, Saved by the Bell.
What's the third thing?
And every now and then, this is a little bit more rare, but every now and then you will mention the fact that you don't have a history with the movie. These are
pretty often.
I know, I'm joking. So, Matt, what about you?
I'm going to throw in here that I love 70s raunch.
70s raunch? Definitely. But you know what? It's tasteful in this movie because there is no nudity.
It's more symbolic than...
It's way more symbolic.
Well, you say there's no nudity, but there is a part where we see a full-on skeleton.
The
true.
nudist of nudes, a skeleton, or as the young people call them, skellingtons. So, Matt, what about you? Do you have much of a history with this film?
No, The Who are one of those bands who I've heard in the background. I would never mean to turn them off, but I can't say I've ever requested them.
No.
However, I have seen them live, and they were fantastic on stage.
Oh, yeah. When did you see them live?
Good while ago now, probably 10 or 12 years ago.
Oh.
And, yeah, as far as Tommy itself goes, it was one of those things that I saw in the CD store, sort of somewhere near the wall, and wasn't particularly interested because a lot of those sort of, I remember sitting down to try and watch Quadrophenia one time, and I just got so bored that I turned it off. But, I had no real connection to the film. So yeah, it's always been in the background. I've been aware of it, but known, of course, the song See Me, See Me, Hear Me.
See Me, Hear Me, Feel Me.
Yeah. And yes, it's a wonderful song.
Touch Me.
It was good to actually see it for the first time.
What about so you hadn't seen it before me asking you to watch it for the show?
That is correct.
Oh wow,
That
okay.
is correct.
Wow. So a lot of things going on, but had you heard the album at least?
I would say so, but it's not something I consciously sat down and
because
and
you're not the biggest fan of The Who, but you've seen them live.
Well, it's more that one of my great hates in life is musical theatre.
Oh,
and,
right.
And I tend to feel that these sorts of things, and I did feel that my suspicions were confirmed when I watched this movie, but I do see it more as musical theatre.
But come on,
than
how much
anything
musical
else.
theatre has women
gas masks and,
in gas masks running around in sexy lingerie?
That's because there was a fire and
more
it's
than
hard
you
to
would-
breathe.
Bartek, I listened to the director's commentary track, and he was being interviewed, and the person said, "Now this is a typical Ken Russell sleazy shot here," and he said in all utmost sincerity, "Well, the thought process behind this was there was obviously an air raid that had gone off, and these were showgirls, and they thought it might, and they were informed it was a gas attack, so they put on masks. So there was a rationale, Bartek."
Yeah, well, clearly
Just
I'm
like
the
you
director
gave.
then.
Hi, Ken, who's been dead for like 6 years. Hi, Ken Russell.
Hey, Ryan.
I think that's a good
Not
point.
how he sounds.
Because I think so much of this film is like that. You'll see things and you could just look at them as, some 70s acid trip, but they do have some connection. Whether it's a good connection that you feel is like meaningful, that's a different story. But
Yeah, of course, that's subjective
there is
stuff.
A connection.
Yeah, because my history with this movie is I grew up with this movie. This is one of those movies, I've talked about this. This is a recurring Ryan aspect of the show, and I think Bartek already knows where I'm going to go, which is when DVDs came out,
Oh, yes,
my
that
parents would buy any DVD ever because they would recognize something or someone, or they heard about it when it was a movie but never saw it. But this was one of those ones where this was a big movie or big deal for people in my parents' generation because The Who were huge and everyone in this, Elton John and Tina Turner and so on and so forth, that this was one of those movies that you should own or have some kind of thing of, like, everyone has that Sex Pistols album, or everyone has that Clash poster, or this, and this was one of those kind of movies. So my parents bought it on DVD and they showed it to me at an extremely young age, and my brain could not comprehend it, but I liked aspects of it. Like, as a kid, I liked this scene and this scene and this scene and this song and that moment, but I couldn't comprehend the full scale of the movie. And I'd seen it constantly growing up, but I have not seen this movie for probably 8 years now. And I remember with me, I had always liked it, but I had never understood it, and I always had problems with it. Like, I always remembered it being a bit too 70s acid trip art house for me. But upon rewatching it now, as more mature, someone who's had to analyze film and read a lot more into what filmmakers' intents are, and also my musical taste as well has matured, I've found that the problems that I thought I had with the movie aren't really there now. They're not really valid problems anymore, and to be honest, I think this is just a masterpiece of cinema. Pure masterpiece. Because you got to look at this scene here where, this is set during World War II, and there's, they're doing, she's filling up the bombs and whatever with these pinball-like objects, and of course these pinballs are going to keep coming up again and again, all these round ball images, and the sun and the mirrors and the pinballs and
by the way, we just got our first lines of the film.
Yes.
Yeah?
They're speaking.
Oh, yeah? Speaking line? Was it?
Well, as in, like, words were said.
Yes.
It took a while for them to
just
say a word.
imagery for a while.
Yes. Well, fun fact. I don't know if you read the trivia for this, Bartek, but it was really fun trivia. One of the trivia points is Ann-Margret, who plays the mother.
Yeah.
She won a Golden Globe for her performance in a musical comedy thing.
Well,
award.
she was the standout.
She was also nominated for an Oscar.
An Oscar, and she has the honor of being the only actress, I think, or only actor or actress ever to be nominated for an Oscar for a performance that's purely song.
Right.
She only has one line of dialogue in the movie, which is Tommy.
And that's only like one of 2 lines of dialogue, right?
Yeah, and and that's it. And it's just like, oh, okay. That's kind of interesting. You never think about that. And let's be honest, we're never, ever going to see a movie like this again. And it's never, ever going to be nominated for Oscars.
I don't know. The music theatre has been making a bit of a comeback with Glee, however many years ago, and we haven't had all those Pitch Perfect and all those. Yeah, but with
song
has definitely
but
been.
The problem with Pitch Perfect is those aren't musicals; those are comedies where they have music in it.
True.
The last musical I can think of was Greatest Showman, right? The Hugh Jackman one. That was Oscar nominated. I love the fact that that movie exists because someone out there said, "Hey, let's do a story about P.T. Barnum, one of the most fascinatingly corrupt, evil people ever, who's very nuanced and deserves a mini-series, if anything. Let's make a revisionist history musical about how great he was, because we got Hugh Jackman. And Hugh Jackman can't play arseholes outside of Prestige."
Yep.
Oh, man.
There was Down with Love. That was
we did that on the show.
Oh, well.
We did that on the show.
I must say that is.
And it's not a musical.
Well, it's pretty close.
No,
is that the one I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of a different movie.
The one with Ewan McGregor?
Yeah.
It never has a song until the end credits.
Right.
That was me throughout the whole thing. I was like,
yeah.
I thought it was going to be a musical, but it isn't.
Is it La La Land? I don't know.
La La Land with Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
Ann-Margret plays Nora.
Yeah.
His name.
Yeah, this is a fascinating movie. But me, The Who, my parents are big fans of music, and they're just never into The Who, so I never really listened to much of The Who. I know their songs. Like, I know a bunch of the songs, and if you've ever watched...
you've seen Eurotrip, yeah.
And if you ever watched any CSI TV show, each one has a theme song that's The Who. So, like, CSI Miami has a different Who song, and then this one has a different... I don't know why. I don't know why The Who sold their songs to CSI.
Maybe it was an author appeal thing.
Can we please talk about this?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
The best song in the movie, Ryan?
No, but when I was writing notes down for this, I wrote in my notes, I think this is because, just some pulling back the curtain here, I said to Bartek, I'm afraid that he might hate this movie, because Bartek, you don't really have much of a taste in music. You're not really a big music guy. You don't really... So I was worried that a pure rock opera might lose you, and you might see it as a bit too, like, not your type of thing. But I wrote in my notes, oh, this is the bit that I think Bartek will start to pick up and like it, because the first 5 minutes or so is just
I was
misery.
I was enjoying it, but I definitely love this part. Yes.
I also wrote, I think I wrote in my notes, I pinpointed what I think might be your favorite moment. And I might be wrong, because I like to guess what your favorite moment is. And I just said, is it the bit where they're showing the lovely legs, and then you see they're Oliver Reed's legs? He's pulled up his pants. I said, that's such a Bartek moment, I feel that you might like that.
It's definitely something I found funny, yeah.
But yeah, I've never...
I find this scene so refreshing, because in the days, just about every movie we watch now is steeped in realism. And even I was watching Eyes Wide Shut a little while ago, and just to see the works of directors that just stage their scenes down to the finest detail, and to have all that choreography of all those people working in unison, you just don't see it in film anymore. Yeah, and it is a really great thing.
Unless you're like freaking Mad Max Fury Road or something, right? Oh, look at that. Bartek, you would play this character.
Look, to be honest, before this, the only thing I really knew him from was Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver Twist.
Yeah, he played, creepy Bill Sykes.
Bill Sykes, yeah.
Kills a person, my copy's rated G, but okay. So, to see him do something completely...
everyone's copy is rated G, but he murders people.
It was a silhouette, I guess, but yeah. So yeah, seeing him in this kind of role was very different. It was good.
Yes.
I loved him, yeah.
Oliver Reed, what a great actor. But just to get on to the music, I suggested to both you guys to maybe give a listen or two to some of the original music of the Tommy, the album, because this is one of those things too, that this is got the distinguishment of being an adaptation of an album.
Yeah, not
as well as a stage show, but it was more the album that Ken Russell listened to, and he picked up upon things, and he felt like, yeah, this has to be a movie. And he saw the stage show, and he wasn't as impressed, because he was like, but he's like, but the music itself, I listened to the album again, and I did not like it. But the movie's version of it is great. What about you? I think I linked you, Bartek, a copy of the Cousin Kevin song.
Yes, that's what you linked me, and I skimmed through it, and my impression there was, the movie version had a lot more personality to it. I felt.
Yeah, exactly.
Ignoring the fact that you could see his face and how creepy he looked. Yeah. In the voice, you could just hear this kind of childlike sadism, whereas I felt in the song, not so much.
Why do you think, Matt, that could be why the film version of the music is so much better than the album version?
I think you have a lot more scope to put more into a movie soundtrack, whereas a rock band is still going to want to sound like a rock band.
That's true.
This themselves.
This would have more instruments and
absolutely
orchestration. While the album would just have guitar, bass, drums.
Yeah, and Roger
song.
Daltrey just doing all
of it. All of it.
Had some foreshadowing.
Oh yes.
Tommy mentioned that when he grows up, he'll have his own camp.
Yep, he did.
Yeah, he does do that.
I'm glad you noticed that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there are some pretty obvious signposts in this film. It is fun.
But there were some things that when they did them, I was like, oh yeah, they did kind of foreshadow this, and I was very happy that they played off of it still. Like this whole sequence with his dad, he loves his dad so much. His wallpaper on his walls is the bomber planes that he died in.
Supposedly
died, and that's the thing. But at this point he thinks he's dead, right?
Yeah.
I love when Oliver Reed is taking over as the father figure, and he's shooting, using the arcade machine to shoot them down because Oliver Reed's an asshole. Frank's an asshole. He knows the situation, but he's a prick. Lots of stuff like that. The lip pout for no apparent reason other than he's an egomaniac. He's an egotist, but yeah.
Look, I'm Ken Russell. I know what I'm talking about.
You are Ken Russell.
I am Ken Russell.
Does not sound like that. But Matt, having to watch this for the first ever time for this, but being aware of it and maybe having listened to the album and maybe hearing the songs, I imagine, you mentioned, what one did you say that you heard before? The
See Me, Hear Me.
See Me, Hear Me. I imagine Pinball Wizard came across before.
Certainly, yeah.
What was it like actually walking into this movie? Did you have any idea what you're going to be walking into, and what did you get?
I actually expected it to be a bit more real than the acid trip. And interestingly, I really found the acid trip of the film to be the most enjoyable part. Like, it does all make sense. Like, the plot all fits together. I think, as I mentioned earlier, whether that's fulfilling for you or not is a different story. But it does make sense. But when I enjoyed it the most is when I just stepped back and just let the colours and lights wash over me. And
the music?
More the craziness of the whole journey. Music, I tend to have fairly... I have a very broad taste in music, but I do like things to push the boundary, and I've never really found that The Who really pushed the boundary.
So Fiddle About didn't push the boundary for you?
Oh, well, like, it's not that they didn't do it at all, but that's not what I'd associate The Who with. I think of them as a rock band rather than an art band. Like, we all know, how... the Beatles start to trip out at the end of their career, and that really had a significant impact on who the Beatles were. Like, they were that at that part of their career. But for me, the Who's always pretty much just been a rock band, and with not without creativity. They're a magnificent
you
rock
can't
band.
fault that because some bands just have to be rock bands.
Yeah,
I mean, the Rolling Stones are just a rock band.
Exactly.
But they're one of the greatest bands of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, the dad's got murdered brutally.
That's right. This is our significant plot point.
Yes, and how it traumatizes him, and how both of them reinforce that he should, become deaf, dumb, and blind. So in the original album,
didn't hear it, you didn't see it.
This was so good too. The way that this was done, the intensity of the music and the lighting, and their insanity. Like, look at her; she really did deserve a Golden Globe for this.
The standout.
She got drowned in beans.
Movie.
She deserves a Golden Globe
for that alone.
No,
she cut her hand too in real life.
Yes, that was something I heard too. She cut her hand on the TV. No, this movie has a lot of crazy elements going on, and a lot of laymen could just say this is an art house movie with no story, but it does have a story.
Yeah. And again, a lot of the commentary on it is about it coming out at the time, and it's a long time since this film came out. Like, that was 43 years ago. So film has come a long way since then, and looking at it, seeing it for the first time only recently, I really did find the film quite obvious as far as being an art house film. Like, I felt as an art house film, it was really quite thin. Whereas if I just looked at it as a piece of entertainment, it was a lot better to digest. But that is a 43-year-old.
Yeah, but then also you also have to look at it outside of just being an art house movie. You have to look at it as being an adaptation of a piece of audio, and then being an art, but then approaching that from an art house standpoint, whilst also being a mainstream movie.
Yeah, and whilst respecting the movie, the music upon which it's based.
Yeah, exactly,
has a certain structure,
reinventing it without disgracing it. Because in the original album, it's set during the 20s or something like that. Like this, instead of 1951, it's like 1921 or something. Yeah, this is after World War II and so on. And in the original story and even the stage show, it's the father kills the lover, but in this version it's the lover kills the father. Okay. Because Ken Russell thought that just made far more sense. It would emotionally traumatize you and make this whole dynamic even more interesting, which I agree. I think this is a far more interesting dynamic of this complete monster taking the role of the father husband figure and manipulating this family that he's wormed his way into is far more interesting to me than if it was actually his dad. I can't imagine, like, since I had seen this first before the album, it's kind of hard to go back and be like, oh, no, it's that way around. It just doesn't make as much sense to me. Well, this makes far more sense, I feel. I think it flows smoother. But, like,
so this is one of the parts I'm talking about with the abstractness is, like, the cool part. We've just had a great scene where they're in the games parlor, and you really do see that emotional abuse from the father towards the mother,
and their dynamics and stuff.
And then Tommy walk away, and that's cool and all. Like, it's a really great piece of plot. But then we're seeing in the water with a cube on his head spinning around, and that to me is actually quite.
Yes, and I like the juxtaposition of that. And Ryan said, "This makes sense."
Yeah, but it does make sense.
It does, yes. But from for someone who's not thinking, it's like, what are you talking about? It's a cube on a guy's head while he's spinning.
A kid's head.
Yeah,
it's because his world's being closed off.
Yeah,
it's being made into something else. The film The Wall, which we've mentioned a bit, stole imagery from this. This is an image in the wall that they just stole.
Right.
A bit of foreshadowing there.
Yeah, Ryan Ryan, was this your face the first time you watched the film?
Yes. And then it became one, and then my eyes changed from brown to blue. But as I grew up, I love this image here. Like, this is probably my favorite acid trip moment, where it's a little kid a million times dancing, and he's in the shape of a pinball.
Yep.
Like, it's such an interesting shot, but a lot of the crazy whackness does make sense.
Yeah,
It's just a lot of people will walk into it being like, yeah, but you said 43 years or so the film has progressed. I agree, but also I feel like when it comes to mainstream art house movies, they haven't progressed that much. I mean, they're still very thinly veiled if you want to go there. I actually felt there was a lot more complexities and nuances because it has the limitation of being a rock opera. So I feel like when you say it can be thinly, like, very obvious, because I feel like you have to be visually, because you're telling the story visually. I mean, we're watching this now without the music, but we understand what's happening because cinema is a visual medium, and this had to adapt an audio medium, and it still tells its story via visuals alone.
Very true.
Which I feel like a lot of movies now still have a problem doing. Like there are so many mainstream movies, even arty ones, that you cannot understand, or they're too obvious and stuff. And I feel like some of the artistry, like this movie was really cheap, but it looks like there's a lot of money in it, and you feel this grand scope of this kid's entire life growing up, becoming this corrupted messiah figure. But
well, I think it's interesting that like film, you've called it a visual work of art and a visual art form.
Yeah.
And yes, it is. But I think over the last few decades, we've actually seen it more as a genuine multimedia film.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've come to a point now where if we want to say something, it's not like the director will go, okay, so the arts designer does this, and the sound guy does this, and the actor does this, and all three of them are reinforcing the point, like was the case here. In modern movies, only one of those will actually have to make the point to you. The others will just sort of step back, whereas here you've got the visuals and the audio and the characters all reinforcing the point simultaneously, and it's just a different style.
You could, for me personally, I prefer that. Like a lot of the best directors we have working today are the ones that utilize that. You know, your Quentin Tarantinos, your Martin Scorseses, and so forth and so forth. They utilize doing these to make films, while your lesser ones like Michael Bay will just go, visuals, fuck them.
Have an explosion.
Or show explosion, loud explosion.
Sometimes he doesn't even show you the explosion, you just hear it.
Explosions have personality.
Oh, so he's good then.
He's good.
So here's a visual question about the album.
Yes.
Obviously, you know, it was released on, you know, whether it's a record or a CD, or
vinyl.
whatever form.
Vinyl.
Was the art that the record was held in, did that have any sort of like visuals that translated to this film? Like, did they have like the tea and the pinball?
No. That came from the art director of this movie.
Yeah, but did anything come from anything like that?
No. The cover of the album, it does have that pinball-esque shape, where it's this kind of it's the picture on that link I sent you, where it's this kind of bubble-looking object that's kind of like this bluish-grey crisscross mesh pattern thing. It's kind of like, I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it is kind of like this very scary image. It does unsettle you, but nothing visually striking from that translates into you. There's maybe stuff that the lyrics give you, but I do appreciate that Ken Russell and the team had also the problem that you have to do of, you're doing a rock opera, or you're doing a musical, but a lot of musicals fall into the trappings of just visually translating what the lyrics are directly telling you. Well, I feel this film steers away from that a good portion of the time. Like, obviously you need the visual stuff that's being said by Cousin Kevin when he's pushing you down the stairs and stuff, but there's no visual thing telling you in the lyrics of her being drowned in baked beans. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or Oliver Reed looking upset. You know, like, there's nothing there.
And even for us right this second, watching it muted, we don't really need to hear the fact that he's isolated. Like, the actors who play Tommy, the kid and the
kid did a great job.
They're doing a fantastic job showing their isolation. They're, like, looking straight ahead. They're, especially in this song, I felt, sitting there. He's dressed for the occasion, but he's just not having anything. Yeah,
and of course, the adult Tommy is Roger Daltrey from The Who. So you also have that problem too, that a lot of directors or people would think is having musicians be acting.
Yeah.
But apparently they were all very easy to work with. Keith Moon was apparently really easy to work with.
I imagine so, yeah.
You know, all of them were easygoing. Pete Townsend only had one complaint, which was the outfits that the Who had to wear during the Pinball Wizard sequence. He felt like, this isn't the Who, and Ken Russell's like, you're not the Who.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, everyone's in this. You got Clapton here, just
Yeah.
casually here. You know, I love this sequence of the Church of Marilyn Monroe. You know, like, I've always thought...
This for me was one of the strongest ideas in the film.
Yeah, I always thought...
I suppose because they didn't really try to explore it too much. They just sort of presented it and
they just kind of push you
let
in.
you go with it, yeah.
But yeah, it's like what you get from each of these things that it's trying to tell you. Like, I feel that Tommy is really exploring a lot of things, but one of them that you get from this is corrupted or false religion or messiahs or gods and stuff, and people putting their faith into something that's inherently corrupted. Because this, I feel, is like a church of personality.
Yeah.
Like the Church of Marilyn Monroe, the most huge personality of the 20th century. Why wouldn't they kiss her statue's feet? You know, it's just as same as Jesus. You know, it's just materialistic. I mean, the Catholic imagery that they've got going on here. But then their outfits are like newspapers of like gossip headlines and stuff. And it's just like, it's all materialistic garbage. Because that's what some religions can become if you leave them unsupervised.
Yeah, and it does have that that goddess worship and some sort of idolatry feel about it as well. Both of those separate things mixed together.
So I walked into this. I walked into this film relatively blind. I just basically read a quick sentence that was like, "Blind, mute, and dumb kid." Sorry, I said that twice. Deaf, not yeah.
It's okay.
Blind, deaf, and dumb kid.
That's how you say it.
You know, becomes a champion at pinball and then becomes the center of a cult. I was watching this and I'm like, so this is the cult he's going to be the center of, right?
And he is.
He is.
Well, you say it like he like.
But I thought it was like he was going to be at the center of the Marilyn Monroe cult.
He kind of is.
He kind of is.
Because everyone you see here is at the cult at the end.
The people, yes, but I thought that it was going to be
that cult in particular. Oh, you're right. You thought he was going to be a member of this cult, and then somehow he works his way up to being their messiah.
Like somehow he's going to be on the same level as Marilyn Monroe in this specific group.
I just want to say quickly, God, I want a badge. That as a badge, the star with Marilyn Monroe in it.
Absolutely.
God, that would be a great badge.
Yeah.
This movie is filled with great art direction and stuff like visual stuff. Like the costumes are great and the props are great.
And the camera angles, that gratuitous shot of Marilyn's ass then as we're backing away from her statue.
When I was listening to the director's commentary track, the film critic asking him questions, there's that shot where they're kissing the feet and the mirror is showing her ass underneath, and he said, that's a typical Ken Russell shot right there, just gratuitous. And he said, there's nothing wrong with a bit of horniness in a movie. Because Ken Russell, for those who aren't aware, was a legendary British filmmaker. I think British, yeah. And he had a lot of horny movies. The biggest one of his I can think of is The Devils. That's a big movie about nuns and priests in the 17th century, and there's a lot of orgies and stuff. But and also Oliver Reed starred in many of his movies, and Oliver Reed was in one of his movies, and he broke a barrier, which was not a thing at the time. He was the first fully naked man in a mainstream movie. Oliver Reed.
Is that
he was
a gratuitous shot?
It is, yeah. Oliver Reed had to do a nude wrestling scene with another nude man in a film, and that was like groundbreaking and stuff. This scene is just amazing because it's just showing you how fucking fake it all is. Like, it's just like, why not Marilyn? I love that shot of when her statue falls down and her face is broken, like her mouth is separate from her head. It's so good.
Yeah.
So,
fairly obvious but beautiful comments on religion here. That sexual aspect, whether it's either satisfaction or control over the sexual impulse, as has been in modern society, and also the desperation of the people moving towards it,
and that fact that they'll prey on the weak.
Yes,
because
exactly.
Again, a new movie. Let's be honest, modern movie. Probably wouldn't actually hire a whole cast of disabled people play disabled people. That's actually been a problem in a lot of movies.
I know it's definitely later, but isn't also one of the disabled people in this scene Ken Russell?
In the later scenes.
Not also this one.
Not just the one scene.
Okay.
Yeah. He wanted to have a cameo, and he had a great relationship with these people because they were all like from homes or hospitals around the local area where they were filming. So they just hired out kind of stuff. And this is a real church, by the way.
I mean, why would they use a fake one? Yeah.
Here's the funny story. They were doing it. It was at like an Navy SEALs barracks or something or other. And the guy, like the corporal or someone, walked in and saw all of this, and he was just instantly like, This is obscene. You need to get out of here. And then they phoned up the producer, Robert Stigwood, and he just made one call, and then all of the soldiers left because Robert Stigwood's that powerful. Now, this is probably one of the best scenes in the entire movie.
This is my highlight.
This is your favorite song?
Yes.
Your favorite moment?
Well, my favorite part of the movie, yes.
Yeah.
This whole Acid Queen section.
Yeah, it's interesting. David Bowie was considered to be the Acid Queen at one point. That would have been interesting.
That would have been good, yeah.
But
I think
Tina Turner rocks this. We get introduced to Uncle Ernie in this scene as well, which is great. But why does this scene stand out for you, Matt? And probably why does it stand out for most people?
I suppose one of the reasons is pretty simple, is that I didn't know enough about the movie to be expecting Tina Turner. And when she rocked up, and we actually, because being my age, I have never really been exposed to Tina Turner as the great. Maybe that's all I've seen her as. She's always been the grandmother of rock and roll to me. And to see her in her heyday and just full of energy and sexual excitement and just being that person who is bringing every ounce of stimulation to this boy who cannot be stimulated, who has no connection to the outside world, to see that interplay, and also to just see that magnificent box that he is strapped into, and the syringes gradually pumps.
That became the poster, man. That became the image on the poster.
No wonder this dude went out and wanted to start a cult, like a megalomania that as a result of this particular scene.
Yeah, I mean, and also what I love about this too is it indicates that Frank owns this place.
Yeah.
And he has this side hustle biz of being this sleazy fucking criminal asshole, and he thinks, oh yeah, I'll just get the boy and inject him with drugs or acid.
Yep.
And send him with a sleazy woman. It's like, again...
We just got to get him laid and he'll be all right.
Get him laid and get him hooked on drugs or whatever. And it's like, again, him and the mother just don't understand what the problem is. Like, think about this. The last thing that they do is actually see someone who's a professional. It's like their last thought.
Mind you, this is a time where you didn't generally go off and do that.
Yeah, but the last medicine was the last option they went with.
Yeah.
Like, just think about that. They went with religion, which is fair enough. I really do love the sentiment of, if he's deaf and dumb and blind, can he be saved? Because can he know what Jesus is and all that kind of stuff? I like that notion. I think it's really great that they had that as an idea. But yes, don't you want to own that? Don't you want to own that?
Oh, yes.
What about you, Bartek? Did this scene stand out for you? You did mention it before, like, oh, is this going to be... You thought it was going to be all like the Acid Queen sequence, which kind of says a lot.
Well, basically, like I was saying, yeah, I was warned that, like, this might not be your cup of tea, this film. And I did think that, like, oh, is this whole film going to be just one big acid trip? And really... I know we were talking about it a bit earlier when I made that joke, like, was this you when you watched it the first time? But really, this is the only scene in the whole thing that I was like, oh, this is where it's, like, full on that.
Yeah, but you understand why.
Yeah, because they're actually literally using drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
On him. Because this is the section of the film where they're trying all sorts of different things to heal him, like, with religion, drugs, and also having people care for him and showing how they treat him, not knowing,
Not knowing or caring how they treat him. Not knowing
or caring how they treat him, yeah.
Yeah, I love this whole sequence of events, but this Acid Queen stands out because you got Tina Turner rocking it. Yeah. Now, Bartek, we're actors.
Yes.
What did you think of her physicality as an actor? Like, her face, her lips.
I mean, right near the end. Yeah.
No, the whole time she's
the whole time she's definitely into it, but at the end when she's looking at Oliver Reed.
The lips. You know what my favorite shot in the movie? Visual shot. My favorite is when the camera's on the floor behind her and you see her heels and they're shaken. Yeah. And then it pans up and you see her calves, and then you see the bottom of her glittery skirt just vibrating, and you just realize she's standing there jacked up on some crazy drug just going like, oh, and she's like, you're like, God, I don't want to see what she looks like from the front because she's going to be scary. And she kind of is.
It's definitely creepy, yeah.
Man, she really lets loose in this. Tina Turner just rocks it. I mean, I've always liked Tina Turner as well. Again, I haven't listened to much of her stuff, but you just know her presence and energy.
Yeah.
I mean, people always make fun of her in Mad Max 3, but she's also the best part of Mad Max 3 because she's just unafraid. Look at these lips.
See,
Jesus.
I find something like so fierce, but so nurturing and loving about her character. She is the goddess in this sequence.
But
It's
she's
something
also deluded.
Yeah, but I don't think that takes away from her intentions, and I think that's a beautiful thing about her character here.
I love that little moment there where it's like it's like him seeing what he knew his dad to be, which was scarred and wounded, and then it fades into what supposed to fade into what he would have wanted him to be, or what he would have been like if he knew him. That's a real nice little touch there to show that Tommy has an actual psyche going on, because everyone in the world thinks that he's nothing. Like, he's basically an object that they can push around, but we, the audience, know with a little moment like that he's got something going on in his head. He's not just this catatonic zombie.
He has thoughts and desires. And
he has memories.
He has memories, and I love this shot is so good too. This overlaying and zooming and stuff. It's so good.
I noticed throughout the film that we do see the scar as a bit of a motif.
Yes, we do.
A couple of times, like on the little girl and things like that.
Yeah, the little girl, Oliver Reed, naturally has scars on his face, so they kind of play that up as well. And this stuff with the poppies and the pinballs and her there, it's like, I love this. It's like he's got a memory of something he couldn't have a memory of. It's a lot of that Iron Maiden thing is just the
like
fucking
a sarcophagus
best.
Of sorts, yeah.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
This is the nude shot.
Here we go.
Did you like the big giant snake coming out of the pelvis? Did you notice that?
He seemed like a friendly snake, yeah.
I love that. Just Oliver Reed's face pop up because he's scary. But I love the biggest snake as the one coming out of the pelvis, because why not?
Yep, that's right.
He's got a big dick, guys. That's what it's about.
Oh, that's what you mean. Right, I see.
You didn't figure that out?
No, Ryan, I didn't think the long snake-like thing at his pelvis was meant to be a dick.
Yeah, this sequence here is iconic. It's just also the song's awesome.
It's great.
It's just an awesome song, and the original song isn't as awesome as this, because I feel like you do need someone like Tina Turner who brings her musical flair, her soul to the role. While the original album, it's just a fun song, but it's kind of like, it's a song, it's okay. But like, this adds so much.
Is it sung by The Who?
Yeah, it's sung by Roger Daltrey.
And I think that is a feature of their music. Like, they're one of those bands who, listen to a live album rather than the record.
Yeah.
Like
in the 1980s, I think, for their stage show, Cousin Kevin was played by Billy Idol, which is like the best casting choice ever.
Fantastic.
You know Billy Idol, right?
Yes.
The wedding singer, right?
No, I know Billy Idol's
This shot's
music.
so good with a syringe as well.
Yeah.
Oh, such a great shot. I want that as a poster. This shot with Tommy there.
It has to be like an animated poster, though.
No, man. Yeah, her face. God, no, that's...
Or just like a little note on, like, imagine vibration.
Yes. But also just the visual shot is also, even as a still, it's pretty great.
Yeah. And it's great to see Uncle there as he walks in and grabs Tommy. It's one of the few times when he's kind of not really sure of his own action.
Here's the thing. I find Frank to be interesting because in my memories of this movie, I remembered he was a real asshole, like a real monster. But watching it again, he has moments of guilt and regret and doubt. Like, after every traumatic event we see, he has a moment where he goes, ooh, while the mum doesn't. She does the song where she's putting on lipstick apathetically or eating something where it's like, do you think it's all right? But she's giving lip service. But oddly enough, Frank, he's become content too with the fact that they're never going to communicate with this guy, with Tommy. But there are the moments where you see his expression when he looks at Uncle Ernie and he burns the paper and he looks disgusted. Or even with Cousin Kevin, he's just like, but he kind of knows what Cousin Kevin is, but it doesn't matter. Now, this is my favorite song in the entire movie, Cousin Kevin. I would play Cousin Kevin.
I was thinking that, you would.
I love everything about this sequence. This whole her putting on the lipstick with her fucking weird hat.
Yeah. And it's kind of a a bit of a history of medicine through here, just going through all these various shock treatments that you might actually use to jolt the mind back into reality.
Yeah, the pinball weird things that they got on that for some reason, and the round mirror being like the sun and stuff. But I love Cousin Kevin. He's a one-scene wonder. He's great. He plays this role with such gusto. You know my favorite thing about it is, though? The more you look at his outfit, the more fucking terrifying he is. Because now, look, you realize he's got a swastika on him.
Yeah, I didn't notice until just now.
Right? Yeah. And you start noticing more and more of how fucking terrifying he is. Because when you first see him, you see the arm, right? Playing the keys, which I love that. I love the way that music goes. But then you see his necklace, and you see swastikas and chains and the studs. But when you first see him, you see, you see the little leather straps, but you don't phase into what a fucking monster is. But then you see that smile.
Yeah.
I love also...
I think he has quite a pleasant face too. So
yeah,
it sort of takes a while to wake up to the fact that he is a real monster.
I love this. I love the color scheme.
Yeah.
Like everything's yellow, everything's red.
Yeah, it almost looked like urine.
Yeah.
It made it even...
The motorcycle.
Yeah. And the glee that he takes from inflicting pain and anguish.
Yes.
Beautiful.
He gives a very sociopathic vibe, yeah.
But he's so happy. I love, his performance is probably my favorite. He's a one-scene wonder. I love the way he actually sings with that real high angelic voice as well, which adds to the psycho nature of this guy.
And didn't the trivia say that most of the shots of this music, of this sequence, was the first things that were recorded?
Yeah, Roger Daltrey's first day of shooting was being dragged by his hair.
Wow.
But I think just overall, this was the first thing recorded.
I love that he's so into it, he throws and breaks the toilet.
Yeah.
The toilet, he just broke it.
Oh my god, you're right.
He's so into it, he throws and breaks the fucking toilet. This is all shot in a real house, by the way. All of this is perfect. This is a real me song. I love this. I'd play this guy so well if I could sing. I'd play him so fucking well. But yet again, this is one of those movies where it doesn't matter if you can sing, because Oliver Reed and Jack Nicholson can't sing, but they sure let him.
Jack Nicholson didn't do that bad, did he?
He was fine.
Yeah.
But at least with Oliver Reed, I felt like at least they didn't give him songs. They gave him songs that were the transitioning between actual songs, and they gave him like what were basically dialogue, but to music. So I felt it was...
He's a bloody awful singer.
Yeah, but he has character.
He has character.
At least he's not like Russell Crowe in Les Mis.
I fortunately have resisted watching that film so far.
Talking about Russell Crowe, Oliver Reed worked with Russell Crowe in Oliver Reed's last movie, Gladiator.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Oliver Reed died he died during that. Oh, wait, I love that. Just this. This is such a funny moment where he's ironing him. Like, I love, he's abused the fuck out of him, but it's like he's getting him ready before the parents come home, you know, like giving him a haircut and being like, so disappointed. But my favorite visual moment, again, this is a visual medium because she's giving him the cricket bat, and the look on his face says it all. Like, oh, I can't wait to use this. Yeah. What a fucking prick. But Oliver Reed, look at him here. I love him. His big coat. But he died of a heart attack, Bartek. He died of a heart...
Oliver Reed.
Oliver Reed. He died of a heart attack. And it cost the studio, while they were doing Gladiator, nearly $4 million because they had to recreate him because his character in the movie was too poignant to recast and reshoot everything. So this was late 90s, early 2000s. So they had to CGI recreate him. Okay. And it cost them nearly $4 million.
Wow.
Can we please talk about what I think was Bartek's favorite song in the movie? I just thought of you. I think you would play Uncle Ernie so fucking well as well. It was funny. But you would be an Oliver Reed, but you'd do Uncle Ernie pretty well.
I'd like to give it a shot, yeah.
What did you think about this sequence, Bartek, of Fiddle About?
They definitely made it, very humorous for what is... I think we can... If we think very hard, we can interpret it as sexual abuse.
Yeah.
It's not on the surface, but
like
deep down.
Through this scene. But,
You felt pretty sickened.
Yeah.
But did you find it funny?
Yes.
What part was it? Was it the fact that Oliver Reed... that Oliver Reed slapped her on the ass, or Keith Moon is just fucking insane?
Yeah, it's the insanity of it all, and the sort of, I don't know, especially following the last scene, that sort of, that this sickness seems to run in the family.
Yeah, and everything's green now.
Yeah. And also, it's not like through this scene and the last that neither of his family members have any To me, it feels like both of these abusers have some sort of familial affection for Tommy.
Yeah.
And I think that contributes to both the hilarity and the sickness.
Well, Uncle Ernie comes back later too.
Yeah, he comes back. He's been introduced already, and he comes back.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, I love the fact that in all of this, Uncle Ernie gets to survive.
Yeah.
I love what I think makes the scene funny is the amount of detail they put in. Like his outfit is exactly perfect. The cracking of the egg in the beer is so gross, but you just go, of course. Yeah. And then all the shit he has underneath his trench coat, and
and then this
the hot
shot
water bottle and everything.
And in this shot where it's completely black, we get cartoon spraying noises.
And you can imagine all the things he had in his suitcase. All those weird things that you're like, why has he got these?
Yep.
But I think my favorite, and I this is the prop I want to own, is the gay newspaper he's reading that says obscenity trial triumph. Yeah. You're like, what the fuck is he reading? Yeah. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you got to notice it. He's reading gay news.
Oh, the thing that gets burned.
Yeah. He's reading it. It says gay. It's called gay news. And then it says obscenity trial triumph. I want to own that. I don't know why. I've always wanted to own that because it's so fucking on point for his character to look at it. Gay news, obscenity trial triumph. It's no case to answer. Why is he reading this?
Okay, yeah. I was thinking GA4? GA4 news? Gay news.
It's gay news. Wouldn't you want to read gay news?
I read that apparently with Broadway versions.
And here, what exactly is going on between those two?
Well, they're brothers, right? Yeah.
How much do they understand about each other?
I think they know exactly. Because they're brothers, I feel. They have the business together, so... What you were going to say? You were hearing the Broadway?
I read somewhere on the internet that when it comes to Broadway adaptations of Tommy, Uncle Ernie usually earns the most laughs.
Yeah. What do you think is going on with the mirrors? The multiple versions of him in the mirrors that are different colours?
Yeah, that is an interesting point, because what cures him is shown as breaking a mirror, right?
Yeah, at the end. And what snaps him into realization here is all of them joined together, and now he's a white version of that, and he
follows a version of himself.
And he can see.
Yeah, or at least he has some sort of sense of where to walk.
Yeah.
Well, because... No, but also because she points out later, he can see himself in the mirror. So there must be something going on. That's what pushes them to go see the specialist even more, and her to push him through the mirror. If I break the mirror, will it break you? That's the kind of thought process. So I feel like he's mentally seeing himself, but he can see. He can see here, because then also when he disappears, everything goes black. But what do you think about the whole weird multiple versions of him that are all colourful, acid trippy in the mirror? Do you think that represents something, or do you think that's acid trippy?
No, I thought that was... I didn't see anything as particularly deep with it. I thought it was just him finding just different aspects of his personality, and as he gradually puts himself together, that's what allows him to break free at the end. There has to be some reason, because there doesn't to me seem like much of a reason.
Well, I found that there was a lot of poignancy, because I felt like they appeared every time he had a trauma.
Oh yes, definitely.
So there's something to do with that.
I was talking more about the timing of
the timing
when he actually starts running and sets himself free. There was no big why then, what pushed him into the line. But yeah, definitely with those images, it's just him finding himself, and
I think it's
being able to sense the world, because of course that's what allows him to play pinball. Despite being deaf, dumb, and blind, he's got this sixth sense. That
in the Pinball Wizard song, they speculate he plays by sense of smell.
Yes,
the dumbest idea, but I love it. Yeah, no,
there's always this idea that mysticism is playing a part in his experience of the universe.
That's true.
He's got something more than the the five senses that we're used to understanding.
Yeah, exactly. He's got some mental intuition. Yeah, of course, he's drawn to this, which I think is supposed to be the sun. He's got very...
We saw it earlier.
I just saw it as a pinball.
The pinball image and sun, because the dad's holding it. And I felt with the mirrors, the trauma, each trauma has coloured him, and then trauma is what makes you into who you are. Because that's what I kind of got from the whole movie. Right. All of this movie, even when he gets broken through the mirror, what does he become? He becomes exactly everything he was traumatized by. He becomes this overpowered, narcissistic, apathetic asshole messiah figure. Every trauma he has experienced, he kind of becomes those in a little way or another. Like the apathy of his parents, he kind of has at the end, but then again, at the end, he jumps into the water and he's reborn and he's happy and he's on the mountaintop. It's like, I don't know, I thought like each mirror version of color was like a colored... Trauma colors you and it makes you.
I have been struggling to find meaning to all that, but I'm just kind of stuck on this idea that breaking the mirror is what cures him. So could it be something like the fact that he sees himself in the mirror is keeping him deaf, dumb, and blind?
Yeah, that too. I feel like... But also I think the mirror is a metaphorical thing when she breaks him through. I think it's like they finally made a breakthrough and connection. I just want to point out, I just love Oliver Reed's face during this sequence. He really is playing it up like he's a gangster for some reason. Like, he's really holding his face in the hat. He's just like... He did this hand gesture where he waved a policeman away and he just went like this. He just went... Ugh. He made a noise. Even though the music's played, he just went, ugh. I'm like, I don't know what Oliver is doing this day, but he felt like I want to be a gangster. I just want to share a fact about Oliver Reed, because I feel like you guys aren't as familiar with him, from Oliver Twist. What about you? You're older than us.
Not greatly. It's one of those faces that I know, but...
So Oliver Reed was a big alcoholic.
I've heard that.
Him and Keith Moon were huge alcoholics, and people were really afraid of him and Keith Moon meeting each other because they're such forces of nature, but they got on. Obviously, the pinball wizard's coming up, but I just want to share this. He died of a heart attack, Bartek.
Heart of Bartek.
Here's the trivia. He died of a heart attack in a bar after downing 3 bottles of Captain Morgan's Jamaica rum, 8 bottles of German beer, numerous doubles of famous Grouse whiskey, Hennessy cognac, and beating 5 much younger Royal Navy SEALs at arm wrestling. His bar bill for that final lunch... time meal was almost £450 or $594.
Wow.
And he was like 60 something at the time.
I love the added touch of lunchtime. It's like, this wasn't
just
even...
to put it in perspective.
That wasn't even evening.
It wasn't even evening, yeah. But of course, we've got to talk about this. This is the most famous thing, right? Everyone knows Pinball Wizard on some level, or at least have heard it mentioned or heard a part of it somewhere.
Yep.
Why is this one the standout? I've been thinking about it. I think it's just the most pop song in the entire movie.
I think so, yeah. And of like the other sort of standout moments, there's something a bit like, it's not like you can throw around the mainstream circuit Tina Turner pumping him full of drugs or
and that's also like a 9-minute song
or stuff like that. Yeah, whereas Elton John, in big glasses talking about pinball, like that's a pretty mainstream marketable event. So as far as the darkness in this, there is a lot of darkness in this movie, and this is one of the moments of light. So it could
plenty
just
of
pushed
lights.
out.
Plenty of lights. What did you think about this, Bartek? Had you heard Pinball Wizard before?
I'm not sure if I have, and honestly, when I was reading up about the film after I watched it and seeing how big of a deal this was, for me, it was honestly just another scene when I was watching it. Yeah.
Didn't even stand out, even though it's Elton John? I mean, you know Elton John.
The song was catchy, and I do know of Elton John, yeah. I haven't heard too much from him, to be honest.
I mean, Lion King.
Lion King, sure, but...
That's our generation. Lion King! My favourite Elton John song is Honky Cat.
I think I was a bit late on Elton John. He's one of those guys who I'd always just kind of dismissed.
I love Elton. I love Elton.
Honestly,
I love
his
watching Rage one night,
stuff.
and saw some of his really early stuff, and he was doing some pretty cutting edge stuff then when he was
Goodbye
young.
Yellow Brick Road is one of the best albums ever. It's really great.
Growing up, and like you said, not really being that huge of a music guy, a lot of artists, whether I've heard them or not, I just think of them as the opinion that I've heard from someone I know, like my parents, and I think with Elton John, it's just a thing of like, oh, my mum's not into him, so whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but you got to admit, he brings so much talent to this role. He is so good as the Pinball Wizard, the champ.
He's great. He's a great rock star.
Everything about it works. The boots
work.
The keyboards on the pinball machine, that's how he plays it.
There was a piece of trivia about that, wasn't there?
The which part? The keyboards?
The keyboards, yeah.
Well, yeah. Apparently, originally it was just a normal pinball machine, but then they thought, nah, we need to have keyboards in it because he plays piano. So they got one of those old keyboards, those keys that you can play when you have the tube and blow into it. What are those called? Forgetting what they're called, but you know the ones, right? And they just got 2 of them and just glued them on.
That's right, yeah.
cut the things off and glued them on, and it's one of the most visually striking things of the movie. I feel like him playing keys, playing pinball.
I love old-time special effects. They're fantastic.
Yeah, it's...
Seeing what people did to actually make a movie.
Elton John didn't want to do the movie originally,
Really?
but he did it on the request that he got to keep the boots.
That doesn't surprise me.
And then he kept the boots for like 20, 25 years or so. He sold them eventually to a charity, and someone owns them now.
Wow.
But wouldn't you want to own those?
It would make for a good gag in things, yeah.
No, just turn up to charity events. A funeral. Turn up to a funeral.
Again,
in those boots.
a good gag in things.
But you play it serious? You're like,
Exactly.
I'm so sad Ryan died. And you doing the foot twirl that he does when he's upset. I would want to wear those. No, this is... I love the crown. The pinball crown is just a beanie with a pinball fucking attached to it. Elton John is one of those guys that's just been around, and he's always been great the entire time, and he's always been very, very flamboyant. So when you see him in this, it feels like a logical step. You're like, of course it's Elton John. Of course it is. Like, with you, oh, Tina Turner's in this?
Yeah.
Okay. But come on, when Elton John rocks up, you're like, well, of course it's Elton John.
yeah.
Why would it not be Elton John? I love this shot of them booing and his boots being taken away. Goodbye, pinball champ. Now, this is the turning point of the movie because Tommy becomes useful for the family for once by gaining them success and profit and
Becoming popular.
and fame and all this kind of stuff. And what do the family do with it? They just fucking sit on yachts and look at bean commercials and stuff. They're...
Or at least the mum breaks down from it, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that scene. The scene of her straddling the penis-shaped pillow that's covered
the
in
body pillow
chocolate.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Oliver Reed walks in, and we see there's nothing in the room. It's just nothing. It's all white and normal. And Oliver Reed's just like, same shit as always. Like, this is something that constantly goes on at this point. Now, Bartek, I thought of you during this. I was like, I wonder what Bartek thinks of these little moments. I love these little moments where you're having the normal rock opera, but then it will cut to, like, the Bean commercial music or the little song of him on the boat.
Yep.
What did you think of these moments, Bartek? I thought
Sorry,
like
what was the song on the boat?
when he's on the boat, it has like this little weird kind of jingle, like as a commercial jingle where it's like talking about like owning a boat or something. It's like Oliver Reed's on the boat with all the bikini babes on the yacht. You remember that bit, right?
I think I'll remember when I see it, yeah.
To show his wealth.
Yeah.
He's on a boat wearing like a captain's outfit and whatever. He's got all the bikini babes.
yeah,
and it just cut. But we are still watching whatever's happening before. But then you hear the music slowly fade out, and then it kicks in with this like jingle from like a 1960s ad. Same with the Bean commercial. What do you think of those little moments in there to kind of throw off the rhythm of it being a rock opera?
It was interesting. Like when the Bean thing started and when they were singing about it, I'm like, oh, okay, it's like a commercial jingle. Like, is Tommy gonna pop up and he's like sponsored by them? And then nothing kind of comes of that. It's like, wow, that was odd.
Well, I think it kind of comes into things because I think it's kind of like.
Well, obviously she gets covered in the beans soon.
Do you have any understanding as to why she gets covered in beans? Like when you saw it, did you just think this is just complete gibberish nonsense for weirdness sake, or did you think there was any explanation to it?
I didn't understand it, but I was giving the benefit of the doubt to the film. Like, there was obviously a meaning there because, you know, we saw it on a TV.
Yeah.
And now the beans are coming out of the TV to someone who was watching the TV, who's having a mental breakdown. So clearly there is something there.
What do you think her mental breakdown is during this?
I thought... I mean, obviously it's been happening very quickly, but I thought guilt to the fact that she's kind of realized that, you know, she hasn't been treating her son that well, and now they're exploiting him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that too. But then after this, she just continues to exploit him and not do much.
Well, I guess that's because she's feeling guilt over her weakness of not being able to get out of doing what she's doing.
She does feel very trapped, and I think, to me, that's part of the Beans thing, is that she's sitting there watching TV in this opulent bedroom, watching a Beans commercial, just basically pampering herself, because it's the only thing left for her.
Yeah,
there's nothing else. She feels She's always felt
I feel
guilty.
like I feel like if the Beans actually were said to be a sponsor, that would be also a bit more poignant, because then it's like, oh, here's the sponsor that's giving you all this money, be covered in their product kind of thing.
Yeah, but, I feel like it also is great because...
It is great, yeah.
But I think it would be great... It's great that they don't do that on a level 2, because then you find out during the course of the movie what is propelling him forward is this weird religious following that people have associated with him, and what makes that topple is Oliver Reed capitalizing on that with Uncle Ernie by overcharging and commercializing this.
Yeah.
And that's a part of what I think happens. Like with the Beans, everyone will point to that and say, Ryan, how can this movie be unappreciated masterpiece and it's not art wankiness when she's literally drowned in beans and detergent and chocolates? And I say to you, it is art, because there's many things going on there. Like, we're talking about the grief and stuff, and like you said, Matt, like, here she is. She's not at the pinball thing.
No.
Nor is Oliver Reed. No one is actually there for him. They're just indulging themselves, and she's indulging herself on her big TV in her big, lavish, white, pristine room, watching these commercials and just watching her son from afar.
Yeah. But
she capitalizes on it.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of a lack of love on her part. For me, I think she's a broken woman.
Yeah.
And, she would do anything for her son, but she doesn't know, except actually face the truth.
Yeah. I feel like she just does it as lip service. Like,
that's it.
Yeah,
there's only a certain point she's willing to go to.
Yeah, she's grown apathetic.
Yeah, self-preservation is the only thing greater than her guilt.
Yeah, like, she's grown apathetic, and this is her beginning to break down and stuff. But also, I like the way with how Oliver Reed walks in. He treats it like, oh, this again?
Yeah.
So this is like I feel like it's like another lip service thing, where it's like, do you think it's alright to leave him with Cousin Kevin, or Uncle Ernie's had too much? Like, oh, she would say that every time.
Yeah.
But she won't do anything about it. And I feel like with how Oliver Reed walks in and sees her and reacts, it's kind of like, oh, she's doing that again, where it's like, oh, she's having another breakdown, but she's not going to do anything about it. Until we see it happen in the movie. This very phallic imagery here. Just want to point out, Ken Russell said in his commentary track, this is the only time where he had a problem with Ann-Margret due to the fact that her husband walked in for the first time on set, and this is what he saw.
I think that was in the trivia.
And the husband did not like what he saw. You know what my favorite trivia point is?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's yours too, once I mention it.
Yeah, give
Matt,
it to me.
Ken Russell, on set, would carry around a bullwhip on him, and then in the trivia it said, for no apparent reason, in brackets, psycho alert. Did you read that?
Did it say that?
It said that. I don't know why, but we've been reading trivia points like that, like it's like, oh, in Coneheads it's a blood sport, which isn't very conely. I'm like, what the fuck, did fucking Dan Aykroyd write this? And that one, I'm like, who the fuck read that one, where it's like, psycho alert. I don't know what's going on the IMDb trivia page. Look at him. He just reacts like, another day, whatever.
But I also think he's been doing the same thing. She's been numbing herself with television.
And he's been drinking.
Yeah, and he's just been,
And at least he's not looking at, like, the big mess, like, of the chocolate and beans and detergent and being like, oh, that's another day.
Yeah, obviously that's all in her head. But, and then he just passes out.
Yeah.
It says another... I love...
No, it's fine, Ryan. Look.
Can we talk about this? I think this is probably one of my favorite funny moments in the movie. Him putting on this posh accent that's so artificial, because now he's dressed up like the guys in the commercials that she was watching on TV, and this is like their period, in which you see this in a lot of movies or TV shows. When poor people become rich, they emulate what they think class is.
Yeah.
And this is when Jack Nicholson rocks up and he shows them what actual class is, because he is disgusted by them.
And he has a British accent too.
He does, if you listen hard.
Not even that hard.
So
as soon as I heard it, I'm like, is that Jack Nicholson?
What did you guys think about Jack Nicholson rocking up? Because you guys were fairly blind to it. Did you know he was going to turn up?
No, I didn't.
I think you might have mentioned it, or I might have read it somewhere, but I didn't know what he would do, and I didn't know he'd be putting on an accent, and like I didn't know if he would actually sing or if it was someone else. But from what I can understand, it is actually him singing.
And what did you think of this whole sequence of just Jack and him and Ann-Margret kind of flirting, and Oliver Reed being aware?
In the film, he's kind of the most sane person, isn't he?
Yeah.
What do you think about Jack Nicholson as an individual and as an actor in general?
I love him as an artist. As an actor, he's fantastic, and it's interesting to see where he pops up. That's what interested me most about seeing him in this scene, in this movie, was because just harking back to things like Head, the Monkees movie, and he just sort of I still have only seen half of Head, but one of the last things I saw in that was Jack Nicholson stroll onto the scene. It's a sequence where something crazy happens, as usual, and everyone just pans back, and we actually see the cameras, and he's just one of the people making the scene. I think he was actually like, I don't know, executive producer or something like that for Head. So he's kind of in the art rock and roll scene through that 60s, 70s period. So it was no real surprise for me to see him pop up here, but it was certainly a
delight.
A delight, yeah.
So 1975, this is the same year as Cuckoo's Nest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he had probably filmed it by then.
Probably.
But you know what I love about Jack here? He breaks the fourth wall so well, because what I love about him is, when I said, like, he shows them what real class is, because he's really a posh person, and he looks down on them, but, like, when he's interacting with Oliver Reed, the way he gives looks to the camera or to his nurse or to the wife is just, like, he's, like, it's kind of like both the character is like, this guy, but also Jack Nicholson himself being like, yeah, I'm aware. Because Jack Nicholson in all of his performances always has that little thing in there where Jack Nicholson's aware. Like when he's a joke, or even when he's McMurphy and stuff, there's always like that little thing Jack does, that little devilish charm, where he adds a nuance of, like, not full fourth wall breaking in every role, but a little thing where he's aware, like, look at his expression during this, and then
Oliver Reed keeps dropping his monocle.
and look, he looks off like, what, this fucking idiot. No, I'm fine. I forgot that he was in this, but then I had the DVD and he's on the cover. I just went, oh god.
Which film does he sing better in, this or Anger Management?
Anger Management, probably, because it's his natural. I love he coughs on the check. And I wish I knew. He does this really ear grating way he says it with his posh accent he's putting on. And there he is. That's Jack. Yeah, who's he? Just giving her a little, yeah, I know. I'm in this.
This is my only scene. But
then you have that thing, too, of he's another charlatan.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually help him. He just takes all their money. At least with the church and the Acid Queen, they weren't extorting them for money. They were extorting them for their own other needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's extorting them for money because he's a professional, Mr. I'm well-to-do. I'm a part of what you would call the normal system.
You
the
are
establishment.
clients.
You are clients, but he's ripping them off. He's not helping Tommy. Because it's clearly a psychological issue, but he's applying practical medicine and electroshock and stuff. This whole sequence is shot so great. It's so chaotic. So Bartek, not knowing much walking in, and you kind of knew he became a leader of the cult. At this point, when were you thinking, when's he going to be in this cult?
I mean, look, it was definitely in my head because, the sentences don't lie. But, it's not like I was impatient for it. I wanted to see where it was going.
Did you ever... I can't remember. Did we hear if you had a standout song?
Standout song? I mean, I know we pointed it out kind of jokingly, but I did kind of like the Bernie's Holiday Camp one.
Yeah.
When I was watching it, I didn't even really think to myself, like, oh, Oliver Reed's a bad singer, because I thought he was, delivering it pretty well.
Yeah, for what you have to, yeah.
And I did read in the trivia that, like, to at least make him work as best he could, they did record his songs in, like, small chunks. It's like he could kind of nail it in bits.
Yeah.
And being a bad singer myself, I can respect that.
Yeah. Pete Townsend was really concerned about having Jack Nicholson because Oliver Reed was so bad. But then Jack did it flawlessly. Like, he just did it like that because, he's had to sing before and things. Like, even though he's not, like, a proper singer or a great singer, he's a competent singer. Yep. While Oliver Reed... Look, a lot of people say he can't sing, he's terrible, but I think, like I said, he serves a function where he has to sing as a character, not as a singer. Like, Elton John's a singer. Like, he's here to perform the Pinball Wizard song, but Oliver Reed's here to do those bits where it's dialogue being sung as a song. Like, he doesn't have Uncle Frank, Bernie's Holiday Camp is technically his song, but, it's not really like, oh, we're going to Frank's song now. We're going to Nora's song. Like, no, it's usually like he's a part of something else.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, but did you have any other standout, things in here, like any visual things that you found really appealing or really stand out to you? Because this is a big...
Here we have the another one of those pivotal moments in the movie.
Where he breaks through. He's free.
Yes, he is free.
You sound so enthused, Matt. Yes, he is free. I wish I was free. I wish I could be free one day. But no one wants to break me through a mirror. Why don't they want to help me? Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Matt likes
Can
it
you
when he's
touch
trapped.
me?
Yeah. I did find it a bit, I don't know, underwhelming, the whole freeing up of himself after all that turmoil. All it took was to break a mirror, and that's all.
Well, it's a metaphorical mirror.
Well, yeah, that's right. But yeah, I suppose because it was him and his mum, and to me, it's just about, I don't know, some sort of force of will of his mother to break this mirror, as opposed to anything real. It's not like she actually confronted what she did to fuck him up.
No, but I think that kind of works because at the end, she gets punished still.
Yeah.
Because I feel like one of the things that you're wanting is that this is a genuine breaking free, but as I said before, he's corrupted. He becomes what his traumas are. He's a dick. If you really think about it, he's in charge of an egomaniac cult.
Yeah.
His icon is literally like a cross
with a pinball on it, and he's selling shirts with his name on it.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it works. Like, she half-asses her way to breaking him out, and he half-asses recovery.
Yeah, you've got a point. Got a point.
And, you know, with her, she's literally throughout the entire film, beginning to relatively the end, and her exit is just a casualty and a riot.
Yeah, it's really brutal too.
Yep.
She gets baptized during a sequence where he pulls off all the jewelry and throws it in the water. And, you know, he obviously got baptized in because he's obviously playing on religious elements and stuff. I mean, you just had the fishermen go by, that has a lot of religious connotations and stuff. And, you have, like, he got baptized through the water and stuff, but at the end, everything goes tits up because humanity's terrible. And then at the end, he climbs up through where his parents were at the beginning, their Garden of Eden. And he goes through the waterfall where he was conceived and is reborn again. And he goes up to the mountaintop at the beginning of the movie and grabs the sun. Like, he praises the sun, the all-giving life force.
Yeah. See, it's like there are all these connections in there, and all the things it says kind of comes down to, do I really care? But again, that might be a bit of a 43 years on perspective, in that people questioning religion and looking inside themselves for personal growth and all this sort of stuff. That's nothing new now.
No, but
whereas at the time it was something that people were actually starting to look at in art.
Yeah, I mean, Ken Russell was a Catholic when he was making this. Later on, he kind of diverged off, but always felt he was a very spiritual guy. He was always questioning religion, and you can see that in this movie.
Definitely, a lot of the iconography and stuff.
Yeah,
and even Mother here as the Madonna figure.
Yeah, exactly. And you got a lot of imagery and stuff going on. Did we have a favorite character in particular? Because I liked Cousin Kevin, but I gotta say, Frank steals this.
Frank was gonna be my answer, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good. What about you, having to see this, Matt? Who stood out?
See, I suppose because I am not really a musical theatre person, and this is musical theatre, one of Mum stood out for me because she is, without a doubt, the best performer in this movie. Well, Jack Nicholson is fantastic. He comes in.
I think Roger Daltrey does a great job.
See, for me, he just has to stand there, and he does that really well.
Well, in acting terms, it's actually really hard to look like you're catatonic. Like, it's actually really hard to nail because you can make it look.
Just focus over there.
But here, I don't know. I think he does a real good, job, and his singing is really good too. And
yeah, look, I'm not saying there aren't.
But yeah, Ann-Margret stood out. I mean, she did get an Oscar nomination for it.
That's exactly right. She is just so. I mean, look at those facial expressions there. Nobody else in the film puts anywhere near that into it. Like, as far as like
Tina Turner's tutting.
Sorry, Tina Turner's another level. That was like so much acid.
Cousin Kevin's waiting with a cricket bat on the other side,
but he's excited.
Yeah,
Keith Moon's like, yeah, I underplayed it. I would love to hear him say that.
And I suppose I do like to see a genuine character who actually sees something more of their own. I mean, her whole thing here is about her losing her connection with her son and what she's done.
And
to
herself.
So essentially, she is still just as selfish a character as everyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
But her selfishness is actually focused on love as opposed to everybody else's selfishness. Just
Of
being
greed
into,
and-
their own satisfaction.
Hence, he starts throwing away all of her greed and the stuff she's picked up from Frank and
Yes.
Ernie and who else. And yeah, obviously I gravitate towards her too. I just thought that the Frank character was really interesting because Oliver Reed's a great actor, even though
Yeah.
he can't sing that great. You can tell the acting is off the charts with him. And I found the character's interesting nature because one, I remembered him being far more duplicitous and vile, but then this I found more human elements. But in my brain, I remembered, and I'm possibly mixing him with Oliver Twist, where he is just he murders someone. I mean, in this movie, he murders someone too, but
it wasn't
by
like
accident.
first degree.
Yeah, it felt like an accidental thing. Yeah,
And it wasn't like
but with her, I can understand because she's going through such overt, large expressions of change emotionally, while he just stays the same. Like, he doesn't adapt. Like, he adapts, but he doesn't truly change, while she wants to change.
Yeah.
She wants to be a good mum, but she's also... she can't help but be self-centered and lip service, and it's kind of like she's grown into this, but she's trying to find her way, but then she doesn't confront the fact that Frank is the problem, because Frank's the reason the cult goes to shit, because he brings Ernie in and he starts capitalizing on everything, and Tommy doesn't know any better, and she doesn't care enough.
But I do kind of see her character a bit in the same way as I see the film Tommy itself, in as kind of the result of its surroundings.
Yeah.
Like Tommy's, great movie and all that, but it could only have happened when it did. It was riding a wave of this sort of sentiment, this rock opera thing. And essentially this rock opera, it was set up as something really new and fresh, and it's just not. Like, this rock opera is just musical theatre. Like, the fact that there's, like, guitars as the main instruments and a piano doesn't really make much difference. The songs are all structured the same. The storytelling's basically the same. Maybe this isn't as
but hearing the Who do it is different.
Well, that's what I was actually surprised by seeing this movie, in that it actually wasn't. It still runs like a musical theatre, and I still get that same sort of journey. And
I think that's the difference of when you have the audio and you have to adapt it to a film, because you have to follow story structures. While the album is a little bit more, what you could say is aimless.
Yeah.
But that's because it's an album, and while this is a visual medium, you have to adapt it to the 3-act structure, which musicals, which you don't like, have to do.
That's right. And this is a lovely little section here where we go completely off track and see this.
Follow Ken Russell's daughter. Yeah.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Victoria Russell. Yeah.
And again, it reminds us of our time and place, because, there's something innocent about this girl who, to me, looks like she's about 14 or 15, and completely throwing herself at this adult male. And there's something sickening about that as in our current context.
Yeah, but then also the song kind of shows you that it's also sickening as well.
Yeah, it does. But there's something sort of, I don't know, somewhat more acceptable about it being in that context. Like, we go back 40, 50 years and we're listening to songs that say she was just 17, you know what I mean?
I understand.
It's just one of those things that shows us how much culture's changed in what we think is acceptable as far as not even sexual interactions, but sexual desire between people.
Exactly. But again, this film knows how to ride that line. I mean, let's not forget, this film shows us in this that it's an unhealthy thing that she wants as well. Considering Tommy's now this kind of, egomaniac and oblivious guy. But also, this is also the same film that showed us Fiddle About, a song about pedophilia.
That's
so
right,
I don't think it's unaware.
Yeah.
So, also, wouldn't you want that as a poster? He's Christ with the pinball.
Actually, hold on. Is it actually about pedophilia? How old's he meant to be?
Oh, that's true. Maybe not pedophilia.
Sexual abuse.
Sexual abuse, sorry. Yeah.
Abusing someone who's got disabilities.
Yeah.
Abusing the weak.
Yes.
With fiddling about. But Fiddle About... Ugh. Yeah.
Fiddle about. Boing, 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 boing.
I'll do what I bleed and won't want to. Fiddle about. Oh, such a good
Gay
song.
news.
Yeah, there's something about cinema of this time that allows you to just sort of sit back and be above those things. Whereas I suppose if we would see those topics in cinema now, we would be expected to really address them.
But the fact that they are addressing them in the way in this movie still works because they're highlighting that these are confrontational things and that we have to question the status quo and all of that stuff, along with, like, back then, you wouldn't talk about, sexual abuse stuff between family members or the duplicity of church and prophet and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I just want to point out, one of my favorite little visual things was the priest, Reverend Simpson, when he was cleaning his car. He was cleaning it as a
sign of the cross.
In the sign of the cross. And I just went, yeah, that's perfect.
Mr. Miyagi's got some competition.
You got to appreciate the little rock star that she marries. That's just Frankenstein's monster, and he's a monster. He's just Tommy as well, because he's got all these people worshipping him like he's a god. Yeah, this movie has a lot of things that they're chucking out there. I just kind of miss, with a big thing about this too. This was released as a mainstream movie, and it was somewhat, it was pretty successful, and it got Oscar nominated for a performance.
And she's got the scar.
But it's throwing a lot of really, really interesting ideas and visual storytelling elements and stuff like that. And yeah, film has progressed, but at the same time, I kind of miss films that kind of do this. I've said a lot this year, 2018's been a sucky year for movies. I just keep looking, and there's just nothing I want to see.
God, I saw Robin Hood last night.
You idiot. I mean, the only reason I want to see that is Ben Mendelsohn's in it, and I love Ben Mendelsohn. Ben Mendelsohn's always the greatest part of everything he's ever in ever.
He basically redoes his Rogue One role.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, is it different to his Ready Player One role? Where he's villain in a coat?
No.
Where he's villain in a coat?
Yes.
This movie, I wish there was more movies like this. I know you're not into musical theatre stuff, but
but I like a lack of reality. It's one of the things I've been reminded with in theatre at the moment. The stuff that's getting acclaim is really real. And it's like, well, it's not telling me anything new because I live reality every day. I don't really watch a movie or play a game or go and see theatre or listen to music to get a dose of reality. I want more than that. Yeah.
But sometimes you do want that, and that's why
sometimes, and I'm not
there's so much diverse things in the art world. Like, if you want to have a lack of reality, you can watch a David Lynch movie. If you want realistic reality, go watch an Ang Lee movie.
Exactly. I'm glad that we have the
diversity
the breadth.
Yeah, exactly.
It does disappoint me that a lot of the breadth in art at the moment is just
narrowed.
It's not allowed critical acclaim.
Yeah.
As soon as you go outside the boundaries of what people think is serious art,
yes,
it all of a sudden gets disregarded, and the people that are judging what is and what is not
you and I work
art
in
are pretty narrow.
You and I have worked in the theatre world, and theatre, modern theatre, independent theatre, just theatre in general, is this. We have to be confronting with how real we are. Yeah, and anything that's aloof or funny or slightly absurd is for posers.
Yeah,
and
it's a
cinema
strange environment.
You know what I mean?
Not the other way around.
No, and cinema is very similar in terms of we're not going to see this artistic flair. Every now and then there'll be that one movie in the year that people go like, oh, Mandy this year. Everyone's like, oh, I really wanted to go see Mandy, that real art movie with Nick Cage. But the people who actually say that are the ones who saw that in the trailer. He has a chainsaw fight.
I remember.
But no one went to see it because it's an art movie. But there's always that one movie that year that people are like, yeah, the one with the ideas and originality and style. Yeah, that. But all we get is Robin Hood, superhero movies, and I'm not criticizing superhero movies. I'm glad that they're actually trying to do something, but it's like they're all you spoon-fed the same thing. Well, we're not going to get a Tommy again.
I remember
we're never going to get a Tommy again.
In early 2015, like late January 2015, I was with a group of friends. We're staying at this cabin. And we were talking about movies, and I was talking about how in the previous year I really liked Birdman, and they just thought it was a weird art house film.
And then it won Best Picture.
Won Best Picture.
Because every now and then the Oscars, they love...
certainly one of the better movies around at that time.
Oh, yeah. 2014 That was when that came out.
That had Nightcrawler as well.
That was a great year for cinema. That was like one of the last. It had like Whiplash and Nightcrawler and Birdman and a whole bunch of others. The Guest, one of my favorite movies of recent times. But that was a great year. But like, it comes in swings and roundabouts. But like, we're never going to get a Tommy again, and that's kind of a shame.
I haven't seen. I know you have, Ryan. What about Shape of Water? Was that?
Oh, that was fun. Yeah, no, because it's a weird movie about a woman who fucks a fish man. I mean, and it's done with sincerity, but it's aware how goofy it is.
Cool. Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, but what we were saying, like, you're not gonna like this movie doesn't take itself so seriously.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it does address a serious moment. So, I mean, I think that's why more people like The Wall, because The Wall is more serious in its artistic merits and approach. Yeah. Look at us. We've got another brick in the wall.
Well, I certainly like The Wall.
I do too.
I
do too.
think that's more just because of personal taste. Pink Floyd are a bit darker than the Who. So.
Oh yeah, it's what you're looking for. But it's also you got to think this is pretty dark stuff for the Who, which is always interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I don't mind my dose of reality and things. Like I love listening to Lou Reed. He taps into the dark, real elements, but he taps in the ones that people weren't talking about at the time. Yeah. No one's talking about buying heroin off the corner.
Yep.
And now you're afraid you're going to get fucking stabbed while you wait. Like, no one's singing about that. They're all singing about, she's 17.
Yep.
I want to fuck her, but I can't, but I will. Like, you know. That kind of stuff. It's like how people... it's like when I bump into people and they say, like, David Bowie wrote love songs. I'm like, not really. He wrote songs about being a fucking alien.
Yeah.
Now, this is great. All the followers coming in. I love... Did you note all the different kind of professions? There was an air stewardess, and there's the old lady, but there's like a lollipop man and like a fucking fox hunter or something. Like, it's just a ludicrous amount of people.
I have to admit, my favorite profession is little old lady, Ryan.
Well, once you reach a certain age and gender, you can only have that career. I mean, look, I love this. I love she's got this weird white makeup on for some reason.
Yeah, I love the headscarf she starts wearing from the moment Tommy.
Yeah. But I do love the aesthetic lollipop man. Is he fox hunting guy, horse hunting guy? I don't know. He's something. I love their outfits. They're these militaristic.
Very the high Nazi collars.
He's very green.
Yeah, they got this kind of. But it also harkens back to his dad's military outfit, so it works very well with that. He's kind of getting the wrong ideas of what his dad was. He's appropriating what he knows of what his dad, who's the only pure person he knew. And he's still fucking it up because Tommy's an idiot. I love him, but he's an idiot.
I didn't see the uniform so much as a Nazi thing, but it gave me more the vibe of, like, you know, the communes that have their own uniform.
Yeah, but I also saw it as they're still corrupted because it's this militaristic, authoritative.
Having a closer look, like they do have like buttons and stuff and collars. It does look a bit more like
some sort of a fascist.
More not professional, more militaristic. Yeah,
authoritative.
Yeah.
I see. I didn't even think Nazi. I think it just looks like the British pilot uniform that his dad wears. Because it's got more of that, but you know, I can see but they are a fascist. But here's the thing: they're cold.
Maybe I'm thinking ahead too. They have the whole lining up.
Their cult falls apart because of consumerism, but also because people aren't listening and seeing how to do what he's saying properly. They're taking what they think they want from it, and then when it doesn't work the way it did for Tommy, they destroy everything.
Yeah, unlike our impression of a lot of cults. This isn't a case of him spouting bullshit that actually is bullshit and he knows it. He actually does believe in what he's saying.
Oh yeah,
but no one understands him.
No one wants to.
Which, Ryan, I've heard you describe Neil Breen kind of like that. He knows what he's doing, but no one else does.
Only he knows.
Yeah.
But the problem is, with this, he knows and he's communicating it, but they all are like his parents or everyone else in this universe. They only want what they want from it, and they want fame and money and all this stuff that he has.
But some of them say we want to be like you.
But they're lying.
Yeah.
They want to be like him in terms of like they want his money and fame and wealth and love. And
he thinks that they want like his spiritual beliefs.
And so do they, but they're only doing what they feel, the cult. the members. They're
Because
only
that's
doing...
a means to an end, whereas for him, that's meant to be the end.
Yeah, so he's giving them the mouthpiece and the eyes and the plugs and whatnot. And when they use them, they work, but they don't work for them. They turn, they throw them, and start destroying pinball machines, even though they're beginning to be as good pinball players as he is. You know, the only person who kind of gets it is the mum here, but then as you see in this sequence here, she's kind of being directed on how to do it by Oliver Reed and the gang. I love this. When I watched this with my fiance...
I'm glad there are some branches in Australia.
Yeah, not in Sydney. In
Melbourne,
There's something in Darwin too, I think.
Yeah, Darwin, man. And
Where's a broom? I can't tell.
but I love when my fiance watched this. She said, "Oh, he got it," and I went, "What?" She goes, "Oh, when he said Tokyo, he looks like he actually pinned it in Tokyo. Good job." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Okay."
I think, you know what? I think that's accurate, actually. I'd like to have another look.
Now,
though.
one of the biggest things in the director's commentary track I want to bring up is no one knows anymore how this thing works. Like, how is this driving? Because there's no thing for anyone to look through. And the director said, "I guess Keith Moon's driving it." And Mark Kermode, the critic, just went, "No, Ken, he isn't." Also, that pier that burns down later, that actually was probably the film crew's fault, and it burnt down, and then they filmed it.
Yeah, the trivias that I read didn't say it was their fault, but they said it was a real fire.
It was real fire, probably their fault, because in the director's commentary, he was asked, "Ken, how did that catch fire?" And he's like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, just kind of," and he's like, very obvious that they did it accidentally.
I don't know how.
Can we just talk about Keith Moon here? Look how great he is.
Yep, fantastic.
He's fiddling about with his feet.
I always respect playing the keyboard with the feet.
How awesome was Keith Moon, though? He was just great. He was a great drummer.
Yeah.
He was a monster.
Yeah.
He was an absolute fucking wild animal of a guy. Him and Oliver Reed, like I said earlier, people were worried about them meeting because they're very forces of nature, but they're very, you know, even though they have a lot of similarities like drinking and partying, very different guys. But people were worried that, oh shit, this is going to cause a problem because they're both guys that are renowned for being notoriously hard to work with and, you know, animals and monsters and stuff. But they became the best of friends up until Keith Moon died. And Keith Moon died, ironically, not from alcohol, but an OD on prescription drugs to help him with his alcohol addiction.
Oh, God.
And Oliver Reed died of a heart
Big
attack.
Pharma.
And just a reminder, Oliver Reed died of a heart attack, not alcohol poisoning, a heart attack.
That's a...
I mean,
After all those drinks he had.
after a very heavy lunchtime.
Well, he was arm wrestling and beating young men when he was 60-something years old. But, yeah, Keith Moon was great. Apparently he was very easy to work with during this. Apparently he was very shy and he was very keen on becoming an actor. He said he would happily give up drumming to become an actor. And people who had worked with him on movies and stuff said, no, he could have genuinely gone on to do an acting career. You'd put him in certain roles, obviously, but like he could have actually been really successful.
This where the cameo is?
No, we've already missed him, I'm afraid, Bartek.
Oh, I thought it was going to be.
It was
here.
when we first see the disabled people being brought into the church, into his cult. Great shot.
It is.
Because his crutch is holy.
On fire.
It's fire. These were real bikies, by the way.
Well, yeah, can't you see? Can't you tell?
Oh, Bartek, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Can you see me?
I've already answered.
Can you hear me? Can you touch me?
Don't let this go where I'm thinking it's going.
Can you feel me?
No.
Matt's like, please don't.
He's just quoting the film. I don't what.
No, I know he's going to Matt. God, he
Is
breaks
it a
through the
question
mirror.
or is
Why
it a
won't people?
request?
Why don't people break me out of the mirror?
I'm trapped.
The man in the mirror.
That's a Michael Jackson song.
I know.
Oh, yes.
I like this. Apparently,
One of the most
these.
naive songs of all time.
Yes. Now, this here, they found this by pure chance. They were looking around the filming area and they found these giant metal balls that were all rusted colored, so they painted them silver. And they're just from the naval yard or something. They're buoys, you know, you put in the ocean, and they painted them silver. Like Ken said, like the director said, they're clearly not purely like spherical like a pinball, but why would you pass up on the opportunity?
Absolutely.
They didn't even have to move them. They were stacked like that.
That's
so they just kind of
insane.
shot around what they found, and I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, imagine this. This would have just been a CGI nightmare that they would have done in a new movie. Like, Zack Snyder's Tommy. Hey guys, it's me, Zack Snyder, and I'm making Tommy.
That's your Adam Sandler impression.
No, my Adam Sandler's different. My Adam Sandler's, hey guys, it's me. No, my one's a little bit deeper with Adam Sandler. It's like, Scooby-Doo, it's me.
That's Scooby-Doo, right?
No, my Scooby-Doo's different.
Because one of the things here is going, if you want to be like me, just put in your
foreshadow.
earplugs and, put in your earplugs and put on your shades. It's not like Tommy's doing that anymore. He's the
But he's
the guru that's transcended his own teachings.
Yeah, but that's okay. Did you notice that the guy he poured alcohol on is the one that starts the riots? He's the one who stabs Oliver Reed.
No.
So he kind of pissed him off from the beginning.
Yeah.
So nicely done. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, he's transcended this, which is, again, one of the other problems with his cults. But you could also understand that he's still got it internally.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
But at the same time...
Do as I say, not as I do.
But at the same time, if he did do
Well,
what
it's
he
more like
used
do
to
as
do...
I did.
Do as I did. If he did do it as he wouldn't be able to because he couldn't talk.
That is a practical restriction.
It is a practical... I would want to own one of their pinball crosses. I do love the fact that they use pinball, for some reason, pinball to be the imagery of false religion. Like, why is it pinball? Why not?
Well, I suppose it's because it's a game that has rules and, you need your senses to play it, but this man without senses was able to, excel at it.
Yeah.
Unless it's a metaphoric bullet.
Yeah,
As the shot that we see his mother.
Or maybe pinball's just fun.
Did you
Pacing
know
at the start.
pinball had a hard time in England because it was banned? It was like they were trying to ban it, and it was like, oh, these dang youths with their evil pinball. Because you know why? One of the reasons they tried to get it banned was they said it was a gambling sport.
A gambling sport.
Like, it wasn't a real game. It was gambling,
Okay.
and it was no game of skill. It's a game of chance. And then a guy had to come in and show them that it is a game of skill. Like, I could shoot this here. Watch.
It's not just about, pressing the button when it touches the bumper.
Yeah, it's actually a game of skill. And then that also happened with darts. Someone had to prove that darts wasn't a game of
Sure,
chance.
yeah.
It was a game of skill, and it wasn't a gambling game because, they had restrictions, conservatism, and all that. But now... microtransactions, so fuck you. Bartek's smile of acknowledgement of that was just great.
Yeah, I didn't even get what you were saying with it. I was just like, oh, that's a timely thing.
It will never age, ever. When people listen
It just felt like you were saying a buzzword. I'm like, why did you say that?
Oh, just talking about like how funny it is back in the 60s. They were worried about games for children being a thing for gambling and money and profit. And now we live in a world of microtransactions in our games, and you can't actually play games unless you buy more of the game and shit.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, this becomes real brutal. I actually felt, you know what I love? Even though Oliver Reed was a fucking monster, I kind of felt sad for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's all his own fault. You have that amazing shot where he puts their hands together. And I was like, yeah, but they were a terrible couple, Tommy, but at the same time, it's really sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that they're definitely not good people, but I didn't demonize them nearly as much as you did.
No, I don't know, man. They were pretty bad. They left their son to be sexually abused by Uncle Ernie. But I guess hashtag not all villains are bad.
Hashtag they didn't tell him to molest him.
Yeah, there's certainly an aspect in this film that they are the victims of circumstance. And yes, they do all the wrong things by Tommy, but it's not like... But they're sort of pushed by self-preservation.
Maybe they were the
And
ones
greed.
who were
Bad
truly blind, deaf, and dumb.
Oh!
Emphasis on dumb.
Hey, Bartek, I just want to ask you a question. Did you notice the Christ imagery in the movie?
Oh,
What?
I know, there was a lot. There was a few
lot of-
moments.
Are you talking about Christ the Sun King?
Yeah. Sun King. Yeah, there was a few images there. I just wanted to point that out in case it flew by your head.
I mean, I don't think it crossed my mind, Ryan.
Oh, it's a real revelation. Oh.
Why is that funny?
Yeah, exactly, buddy. I'm just laughing because this movie ended so happily.
With microtransactions.
With her being killed on a pinball table. Because she is the pinball now.
She is.
So
Dead and lifeless.
The film's beginning to wrap up.
Well, it's not beginning, but yeah.
Beginning to wrap up. Were you satisfied with where the story went in the end and how it kind of circled back to the very beginning, kind of showing that this is a continuous cycle? And at least for me, that's how I felt. Like, it kind of circles back to the beginning, but it's kind of like a mirrored, but also kind of like this happens again and again. What did you think of how it all came to an end?
It was definitely unexpected because it doesn't so much show exactly what... I might be wrong about this. It doesn't exactly show what Tommy's gotten out of everything.
Yeah.
But the film acts like, you know, he's ending on a high note.
Well, I think for me, it's that he's finally come to the realization that no one else could, which he doesn't need these materialized drives and possessions and ambitions and these greed and all this kind of stuff. Like, he's finally set free of all these problems and issues and power struggles that everyone else in this world is struggling with and eventually fall victim to. I think it's like he's finally free of that.
I just feel like that would end on a bit more of a neutral note.
Neutral?
Like neutral, humble kind of neutral, not like lack of happy, sad.
Oh, yeah, but I think it's kind of like for him...
But as a musical, I can definitely see why they made it more happy.
But
like,
also, you got to
grand.
consider he's been neutral throughout the whole movie. So you have to have it be different to what he began.
Well, I'd say the first two acts, definitely. The third act, he's been kind of...
Oh, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, you can't get him back to being kind of blasé. You have to have him be, like, triumphant, finally. Like, yes, I'm owning what's happening and what I am. This is my story. I am Tommy. I am the son. In the literal and metaphorical sense. What about you, Matt?
I suppose, like, yeah, I get all these things from it. And, again, 43 years old. But I don't feel like I really... I don't feel that I really grew from watching this film.
Well, we get it. You want us to break you out of the mirror, but we won't. All right, mirror, mirror on the wall. Tell Matt to shut up.
We do actually have a mirror in this room, but it's covered by sound foam.
Matt's stuck behind there, being like, "Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you?"
You try to break it. You try to break it, but the sponges they absorb your blows.
It's more that I've been told all this stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool.
Cool. That's a positive reaction.
I didn't feel it really pressed my understanding of life and and the human condition to any greater level. Maybe it would have if I had watched it in 1975. Apart from the fact that I would have been -2 at the time.
Come on.
You never know. You never know.
Ryan watched it and he was -18.
Yeah. So excuses.
Yeah.
I didn't though. I watched it when I was 25.
Spoiler alert, Bartek's 25.
Yeah. But
Don't tell them.
But I wouldn't give back the experience of watching the film because as a piece of rock and cinema history, it is great. I have a certain opinion of that rock and cinema history. I think it was a bit, it was the start of when that sort of stuff was being really led by money. And I feel that this was kind of driven more about getting people into the movie rather than actually saying something great.
Okay, see, I feel a bit different.
Fair enough. To me, it is very much a kind of an industry movie as opposed to a piece of artwork that just had to be made because otherwise the artist just had to get it out. But yeah,
it's
there
art.
we go.
It's still art, though.
Well, it is. It's an expression. Whether it's the best art that was around at the time, I doubt it. But it's certainly a piece of art that was around.
That's
at the
true.
time.
Now I'll share one last fact with you. The sun here. Do you want to know how they did that effect?
They waited till sunrise?
It was Kubrick, wasn't it?
No, it's a lamp. It's a lamp.
All my illusions shattered.
It's a lamp. Pretty cool.
Like on a green screen or what?
Forced perspectives and stuff.
Fantastic. And I've got to say that is something I love.
Like
about,
what? What part
cinema.
of the lamp was it?
So it's a lamp shone directly at the camera, so it's just that.
Oh, I see.
So it's just the lamp, like being pointed directly
So
at the
it's
camera.
essentially a lit bulb.
Yeah, but also
From
the
the
shade
top.
of it,
Yeah.
so that it's circular.
Right.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is neat.
That's really neat. Yeah.
And there are some really nice things about that sort of special effects because it is organic in
Yeah.
nature.
God, this movie has so much. Let's get into our ratings and reviews. I'll go first because this movie's great. I think this movie holds up for me more and more the more I view it, the more I watch it, the more I engage with it, and the more I grow. Film has changed very much since when this came out. This is very much a product of the 1970s, but at the same time, the 1970s, we should not overlook, was a real growth period for art in general, music and film. A lot of the great filmmakers that we love today came from the 1970s, or at least influenced by the things from the 1970s. You had the golden age from the 30s to the 40s and the 50s, and then the 60s was a little bit of a, it had a few good things in there film-wise, but it wasn't as great as it could be. It was still finding its feet with a lot of things, holding on to the golden era, but then the 70s come along, and it's a real growth period, and this is an example of that. This is an example of showing the growth of generations in terms of music, with all these great musicians turning up, as well as film. I mean, this feels like an epic. Like, an epic back before this would have been something like Ben-Hur, but this is like an epic of film. You're never going to see a film like Tommy again, and it's a real shame because there's so much imagination and creativity put in there, and you've got to think of all the challenging aspects that they're having to deal with. You're adapting an audio medium into a visual audio medium, and you're hiring an art house director to do so, and he has to wrangle all of these great actors and musicians together and still make it commercially viable, as well as maintaining artistic integrity. It's amazing. I think it all works perfectly. The more I view this, the more I appreciate it, and then the greater it gets. This is a spicy meatball of greatness. And if I had to give this film a rating, Bartek, because you had your mouth open like you're going to say something.
That was a question, but yeah.
Go on.
Approximately how many times do you reckon have you seen the film?
I would say now this would be like 10th time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it increases every single time. That's impressive.
Impressive.
And that means that the film is impressive.
There you go. If I had to give this film a rating, which I do, I'd have to give it an impressive out of it is.
That's good.
Bartek, let's hear from you.
I also really enjoyed this film. I've only seen it the one time with sound. Normally, it doesn't. I can say that I've seen a film twice when I see it for a second time on the show recording, but this is a musical film, and without the music, it is a bit weird. But having already seen it with sound, watching it muted again, it still holds up because then you can focus on the imagery a lot more. I think that, and this is kind of the point of our show, which, just to remind you all, is we are recording this in the modern day for our modern day listeners. We have to give them a reason for why they should see this film. And I think that this is a film, controversial opinion, that they should see.
Yeah.
This is a film that shows you art in its purest form, as art. Can't get any more pure than having a word be the word, can you?
And Bartek's name has art in it,
Well,
so
there
you
we
know
go.
he knows what he's
There we
talking
go.
about.
It has some Bartistic integrity to it.
Matt's looking skeptical because he's trapped in that mirror, baby.
I don't quite see it as the high form of art that perhaps you do, but I do think it is a very relevant piece of art. And if you have any interest in cinema or music history, then I'd say definitely this is a film that you should see. Did I enjoy watching the film? Well, there were moments that I did, and there were times when I was like really waiting for this to be over. But I do feel that it was worthwhile seeing it as more as a technical piece than as far as what they were saying with the film. Like I don't think it really reached me all that much.
And that's
You
sort
couldn't
of...
you couldn't hear it. It didn't.
I
You didn't
couldn't
see
hear
it.
I couldn't
It didn't
see it.
touch you.
I couldn't feel
And
it.
actually, that kind of relates to my sort of outtake of
Yeah.
this film, just to finish my review, is, I think I said this to Ryan at some point. This film was different from what I'm used to, but a good different.
Yeah.
And I think good difference are what we really need out of cinema. Like, you you can forget about any sort of message with this film. Like, obviously don't, but if you're not really into this sort of film, you can. Just watch it. Watch what it does. Watch what it makes you feel. Feel what it makes you feel, rather. Yeah. Just check it out. It'll give you a new perspective, whether that perspective is poignant or just simply interest.
Yeah.
And again, on that purest level, that's the art. I give this film a negative pinball out of a negative art.
Oh, okay.
Truly an acidic rating.
Right.
Good job there. Any further thoughts you want to give us, Matt?
No.
No. Do you want to give it a rating?
Do I want to give it a rating?
Yeah, poser.
It'd be really impressive if he said no. That'd be very artistic.
I'm going to say I'm going to rate it with a circle.
Just a simple circle. It's in the movie.
You know, a lot of...
Guys, I'm holding a cup right now. When I look at it from above, it's a circle.
You know, Ryan,
right.
what's interesting about that?
That rating.
A circle looks like a 0, but it's actually 360 degrees.
So 0 is a little bit
I
different.
was thinking that it looks like a pinball, but it has no depth.
Oh, it's a sun.
Well, I mean, my rating was negative pinball, but... You know.
So Bartek has some thoughts and reviews and
I do,
things
but so does the internet.
From the internet. You bastard.
Bartexted.
Was Roger Ebert around to review this?
I didn't check.
Damn it, Bartek.
When did his career start?
I don't know, he's old. Give us what IMDb had to say, or do you have some from YouTube?
I have a few from YouTube and one from IMDb.
Ooh, okay.
Well, one of the ones from YouTube is pretty long, so I only gathered 3.
Great, let's hear you.
I'll start with the 2 short ones. A musical so great and so skilled it helps many handicap, including people with autism and the consensus.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I'm glad that it helped the autistic community.
No, it helps many handicap, the verb.
Okay.
Not the noun. It helps many people too handicap.
My golf swings got really better since I watched this movie.
More like worse, am I right?
The DVDs don't fit in the saddle too well. But...
I'll never forget seeing Tommy for the first time on HBO and was absolutely blown away by it and became fascinated by all the films of the great Ken Russell.
Yeah.
But I think the original album is vastly overrated.
Yeah, I can see why. I mean, personally, I like the movie more, but there are some nice things about that album. Like, I don't want to leave off this commentary track by saying the album's not worth listening to. It is. I just think the soundtrack of the movie really expands upon what that is. But go on.
And now I've got the long comment. I like The Who, and any negative replies against me are fine.
They're fine. Go.
But the fact is that as much as I like the music from Tommy, the storyline sucks. So a veteran survives... This is him trying to understand this plot.
Okay.
So a veteran survives from an awful plane crash and comes to... I guess what he thinks is home, and the lover of the mother kills him? What? What did they do with Captain Walker's body? Who knows?
Oh.
But the mother and lover proceed to mentally abuse the child who witnessed the murder and made him deaf, blind, and dumb. Wow, amazing. These 2 people should be in prison.
Duh.
They leave Tommy off with the even more abusive Uncle Ernie, but ho-hum, I guess it's okay that an abusive mother and abusive lover should leave their child off with an even more abusive uncle. I guess the mother and lover needed a night out to go and party down.
Yes, you idiot.
So they tried to get Tommy cures with the doctor, and in brackets, I can't remember who played that part.
It's Jack Nicholson.
And the acid queen, Tina Turner.
Oh, they remember that. They remember that.
The preacher, Eric Clapton.
They remember that. Okay.
And the pinball wizard, Elton John.
Oh, of course.
And I guess Tommy was cured by being a pinball wizard.
No.
Then Tommy becomes cured and he turns into an asshole with the whole Tommy's holiday camp scenario.
Yeah.
Then things go wrong with that and he decides he shouldn't be an asshole. And I guess, ho-hum, the rest of us are supposed to get some meaning from this?
Ho-hum.
Mr. Townsend, were you drunk or high when you wrote this?
Okay.
And the response is, yes, Tommy is an asshole pretty much through the whole movie. He just become much more of an asshole once he's cured. Wrecked a lot of pinball machines, burnt down an old building.
He didn't do that.
Climbed a mountain in his blue jeans, high as fuck.
Like literally, he was very high up.
Yeah, I know. I like that little double.
I like.
meaning.
He was such a bastard. He climbed a mountain in blue jeans. I mean, what an
It
asshole!
wasn't an asshole. It was just high as fuck. Despite how long that was the YouTube comment.
But
Yeah.
but Matt, they're okay if you reply with hate comments, though. Okay, like they understand.
And like, funnily enough, it's not too inaccurate a synopsis.
But
of the
it
film.
also
Like, it's-
is incredibly like the synopsis is somewhat correct, but their understanding is wrong.
Well,
like they're like,
it
what did
is
they
one of
do
those
with
movies,
the? But what did they do with the body? It's like you're thinking
Well,
in a too
yeah.
literal sense, and it's like, and then they leave him with the uncle. What do they want to do? Have a night out? They're assholes. Yes, that's the point, genius.
All I have left is an IMDb review.
It's like if I reviewed One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I'm like, and what's this? The nurse doesn't care about the mentally ill? She would get fired by today's standards. Like, hashtag fire nurses. Like, oh.
That's actually a really good point.
What?
Wow, Cuckoo's Nest sucks.
Yeah, revoke those Oscars. Fuck that.
Give
Go
them
on.
back.
I hope the education department doesn't find out how many teachers don't give a shit.
Whoa! Hashtag Matt alert. He's dropping the real truth bomb.
T-bombs.
The T-bombs.
So my IMDb, not mine, but the one I found that I'm going to read,
Good.
is titled "A Message for Those That Don't Like Tommy." Tommy with an exclamation mark at the end.
Yeah.
It is from the 24th of January 2001,
Oh, wow.
and there is no rating, but it's a positive review.
Oh, good. Hey, oh, good.
Tommy is a classic movie, always good for a laugh. Smiley face.
Yeah, it is.
My twin sis and I always watch it. We even know the actions from the scene when he's connecting with the disabled, P.
They know the actions.
Even though we were born 6 years after the movie was made, we still think it rocks. The Who are absolute legends. The movie is worth watching just to see the bub that plays Tommy when he's a baby. Gorgeous! If not that, who can go past Keith Moon as Uncle Ernie?
Weird.
Good morning, campers! D.
Weird juxtaposition. I love it for the cute baby, but I also love Uncle Ernie.
Now, for those people that don't like Tommy because it's too bizarre, it's supposed to be like that.
Yes.
I never lived in the 70s, but I hear that entire decade was bizarre. So Tommy is very token for that era. If you look in depth at the movie, you'll see that everything has a meaning. It is full of symbolism. The drugs, the loss, the confusion, the awakening, the freedom. Every scene in the film means something if you think about it. My sis and I were watching Tommy one day when a friend walked in.
Yeah, they're always watching it.
It was up to the scene where Tommy can see and hear and speak again. She's like, why is he running on a stingray? She just didn't. She just didn't get it. If she'd watched it from the beginning, she would have realized that this was a scene symbolizing Tommy's freedom.
Freedom.
You have to watch the whole thing and be alert through it all, and you will see the thought that went into the movie. So, for those that think that Tommy is a big joke, watch it again for me, and this time really watch it.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah.
Watch it.
There I go.
Then you'll understand why he's running on a stingray.
Thank you, Bartek. That was perfect. Matt, it was so great to have you on.
It was lovely to be here.
It was fantastic. Oh, cough it up, Bartek. Cough it up for Matt. So ho-hum. Ho-hum.
Those were never their own sentences either.
Yes, that was such a pleasure. It was such a pleasure to have you on to talk about this. I felt like we needed someone who knew music a bit to talk about, but also, you work in the theater industry in terms of things, and you understand how story and artistic stuff can go awry and go right at the same time, and
So true.
It's so
Tommy is an example of both.
It is, but I think it's a good thing. Like when
Yeah.
it does fall off the beaten path or go off the rails, it is at least trying to do something unique and interesting. With whether you think it's pretentious or not, it's up to you. But for me, I thought the pretension worked in its favor at times because it is so grandiose. But you guys at home have been fantastic, amazing, wonderful listening people. You can find us on all the social medias except for Instagram. Maybe MySpace, we should get one. We have an email in case you ever want to suggest a movie for us to cover. Because, hey, maybe if my parents didn't show me Tommy, I wouldn't have suggested that. We don't know all the movies. What's our email?
spitandpolished@gmail.com.
No, fantastic.
spitandpolished @
Thank you, Bartek.
GMAIL.
Yeah, and
full stop COM.
And we're on all the podcast platforming sites. If you want to give us a rating and a review, that would be much appreciated on iTunes or any service that allows you to do that. That would be fantastico. Matt, you do music. Is there any place that you can find your music, or is that just you in your laptop by yourself?
Yeah, nobody listens to my music.
Really?
No, I've got a bit on SoundCloud and
SoundCloud?
YouTube and on that sort of stuff.
Oh, you have to link us some of it.
Simply check, if you type in Matt Brown Embryo, all one word, Matt Brown, and then MBRYO, you will probably only find me. So.
And then you find me making an account as him, and it's just me saying, "I'm stuck in a mirror.
I'm stuck in the mirror, get me out."
And it's just me banging a cowbell, and that's it. And I
Ryan,
call,
can you see me?
"Can you see me? Can you feel me?"
Ryan,
and I shot
can
it,
you hear me?
and I shoot it in sepia because it's art.
And then it fades into a stingray being ran on.
Exactly. Well, until next time, guys, remember to be kind to each other.
Right. So can I now stop pretending I liked it? Because it's really Ryan. I just walked in on my twin friends watching it, and they were running on a stingray, and I stuck with them. But it's kind of I didn't get it really.
It's okay, Bartek. I'll teach you how to get it in the next episode.
It's not how I expected the Walking on Twins story to go.